What up, people?
Man.
You are live and direct on Petty Sports, the podcast, brought to you by King's Broadcasting Studios. It's your boy, the host, Mr. Famous Fees. They call me Facts. It's my man Adam to my left. Yo, holla at him.
Oh, my goodness.
Left.
Oh, my goodness. Gary, you already know I was crazy about tonight's show. He came out with the NFL theme. Ladies and gentlemen, It is a packed show tonight. Make sure you call the show 678-871-9602. Hop in the chat. We are talking nothing but the NFL tonight. You've been hearing us for months and months. Wait till the NFL season gets here. Here we go, baby. Fees, please lay the slate on us tonight, man. It is epic.
Oh, yeah. Y'all heard the intro. It's NFL all night long. It's that time. The preseason started up. The regular season is coming. We got breaking news for you today. Y'all heard what happened a little earlier, so we're going to drop that one to you off the top. We got to talk about these rookie quarterbacks. You know, they came out. They all had their debuts. We got to chop it up on that. There's some serious trade rumors, speculations, and we got a new segment for you we're going to drop on you called Petty Premonitions. So we really going to drop some heat on you today. Y'all need to go ahead and stay tuned. Keep it locked. Get your popcorn. Get your drink ready. If you play fantasy football, get your pen and your pad. We got all the hot info for you. Just like we told you last time before we got to come back on, we're going to talk about the wide receivers and the tight ends tonight. So, man, it's going to be packed. So, man, we're going to go off the top, right off the top of the head. Man, Tim Tebow got cut today. Was this what is the Tim Tebow separation from his longtime friend and old head coach Urban Meyer? Was it deserving?
I mean, yeah. I mean, we saw the ugly block. It went viral all over Twitter. No effort at all. And, you know, Tebow's got me looking up here real silly because I said, give the dude a chance. And look, they gave him a chance, and he absolutely blew it. There was even a play, people aren't even talking about this, where Tebow was open in the field. And in the middle of the field, I want to say it was Chenault that literally jumped right in front of Tebow, took the pass. Like, nah, buddy, you don't need that. You've already embarrassed yourself for today. Yeah, I mean, it was absolutely warranted, man. And I mean, Tebow was humble per usual. Glad I was able to pursue a dream. Glad I got the opportunity, but it wasn't him. We knew it wasn't him, and it came to fruition. So, yeah, man, there it is for Tebow.
Tim Tebow. I can't believe you actually sat on air and was over here lobbying for that guy. I told you he ain't deserved no chance before he got his chance, and he showed you. One preseason game and cut already.
One preseason game. Yeah, it's awful, dude. It's horrible.
He did better than that when he was on New England's roster for the preseason. He at least made it to like the third game before he got cut.
Yeah, very ugly. Extremely ugly. I have no words for him. No excuses. No excuses.
One target for 0 catches, and I would give him about 25% of a block.
Not even. Oh, God, no. I give him 5 per 80. He nudged him with the corner of his helmet. It was ugly.
It was a little shoulder roll type thing. I don't know what it looked like. He was posing for an Iron Man contest. He just rolled out for it. That was disgusting.
I mean, dude, here's the thing. Like I said it before we got on air. Why does Tebow look so athletic? And he's not. Like, he looks like he should be out there throwing guys around, maybe not running at a 4.8 or whatever, but I mean, or maybe a 4.8. It ain't got to be a 4.6 or a 4.5. Like, it looks like the dude can play sports, and he simply can't. Don't judge a book by its cover. Tim Tebow, he is who he thought he was.
He's a college football guy. That's it.
Yeah. And it's even like, well, I mean, with the national championships, too. It's a little speculation around that.
I mean, he did have rosters that are like, you're giving him all the credit.
Yeah.
Just like they sit up here and call him 2-time national champion. Like, bruh, Chris Leak won that national championship. He was the backup.
Making my point there.
What did he come in for, like a 2-point conversion or something? He had like one memorable play in that, and they act like he was the quarterback. He did not win that first one.
Right.
I mean, if we're going to do that, then how many, we got to acknowledge Jimmy G's Super Bowls because he sat on the bench and watched Brady win them? He's got a couple.
God, no.
Hell, Matt Castle has national championships.
Oh, yeah.
He didn't play, but he's got them, though. He sat behind Matt Leinart and Carson Palmer. He never took a snap, but he has those rings.
Absolutely. Just like Wentz.
Yeah. All of those guys. It's like, come on, bro. Why is Tim Tebow the only person who actually gets credit for winning a championship and not contributing to it?
Yeah. Can't do that. Bruh. Cannot do that.
One-time national champion. Thank you. That is it.
One-time national champion, one-time preseason game player. It is over for Tim.
His college stats aren't better than Matt Leinart's.
Yeah, it's bad.
But, it's just one of those things to ponder. We're not here to do that tonight, but think about it. Matt Leinart won, 2 national championships, played for a third, won a Heisman Trophy, was a runner-up behind Reggie Bush the next year. Hey, he did just as much as Tim. But we're not going to stay on Tim Tebow. We're going to talk about some real quarterbacks now.
Yes.
The NFL actually did have some real quarterbacks play football. So we got to talk about the most electrifying of what we actually saw this weekend. We're going to move into that game with the Chicago Bears and the Miami Dolphins. Rookie quarterback Justin Fields made his debut. How impressed were you with his first snaps as an NFL quarterback?
Man, I was absolutely impressed with Justin Fields, and I think he came out of the gate immediately and showed all the doubters there was no reason to criticize me. I'm out here making plays. I looked like I was supposed to, and overall, I played pretty well for a guy that's never seen NFL football before. Let's talk about the arm, though, with Justin Fields. He wasn't afraid to make the big throws in the big moments. He was a little fearless at times, and not to jump the gun, but I kind of felt a little bit of a Rodgers, Wilson, I'll put it in that tight window, and I know it might go for a pick, but I'll still be fearless and have that little gunslinger trait to me. And then you look overall, the way he was moving around the pocket presence was impeccable. The fact that he was able to sense pressure immediately. He never looked nervous. He never looked rattled in the pocket. Yeah, he did have a few tough times, but he still kept his composure, and overall, you saw that Justin Fields was able to be extremely effective with his legs. Showed you no question that he can make a throw on the run. Obviously used his feet to scamper out of bounds a couple times, had a touchdown, and he even had some really sexy look-off plays where, you've got a guy coming one way, and he's faking the head movement just to zip it back across his body. That is special for a rookie, so I got to say Justin Fields held up to expectations. I mean, he was out there at some points kind of getting a little loose, but dude's a rookie. He's never seen NFL football, so hats off to him, and I think this guy can win Rookie of the Year, no question.
Yeah, man, they set him up to succeed because he didn't come out against the starters. So, we do have to take that into account. He played against the second and third stringers, but he did play for quite some time.
He said the game was slow. Whew, that's not a smart comment as a rookie.
Yeah, he was 14-20 for $142 and a touchdown, and then he was successful in the run game. Just you compared him to a Rodgers Wilson, I say he looks similar to I would call his ceiling like a Deshaun Watson.
Right.
So I think that's really in the same stratosphere. We're pretty much on the same page with that.
Right.
He showed us that he has game-breaking speed. He has big playability. He's very poised in the pocket as a rookie. Granted, he was playing against second stringers. You got to kind of want to work him out there. You don't want to just put him out initially against the starters and then, you just get him blasted. And, I wouldn't want to hurt his confidence up top. He's got time. They got 2 more preseason games. I think he absolutely should be the starter coming out in week 1. No one's trusting Andy Dalton, and it's Andy's first year in the system too. It's not like he played for the Bears and he knows the offense. He doesn't know any more about this offense than Justin does.
Right.
So I think he absolutely should be the week 1 starter. He could definitely be offensive rookie of the year. He has everything in play for it to be him. So I'm very high on him. I'm actually anxious to see what he does when he gets out, get some reps against actually number 1 defenses. I hope they get him the first quarter starts for these next couple of games so he can get real competition. Not to say that he didn't play against anybody,
right?
But get out there against the ones and let me see how you look, because a lot of guys got a bad rap in this first game because they played a couple of series against the number 1 defenses and then the backups came in and looked good.
Correct. Yeah, if there's 2 things I can take away from Justin Fields' first, NFL snaps, it's got to be the great pocket presence and the fact that he's not afraid to take advantage of an opportunity with a tight throw. So I think Justin Fields is going to light it up, and Nagy's on the hot seat if Fields isn't out there week 1 instead of Andy Dalton.
Absolutely.
No question about it. Fields has to be out there. This dude's going to be lighting it up this year in the NFL, and if you're not watching, you're totally missing out on impeccable talent.
Thundercat. Why does our logo look like it's from a horror movie? Because it's petty, Thundercat. Actually, that's not what it says. I'm not even going to repeat what it says.
Hey, you're doing great, Fees. You're doing just fine.
I mispronounced it on purpose.
You're doing just fine there, Fees. Facebook fam, how are we doing? I'm trying to hop into the chat, see what's up with you guys.
Then Justin does. Absolutely, man. So we'll move on to the next rookie quarterback. Made his debut. What are your takeaways from Trey Lance's first snaps as an NFL quarterback?
So, of course, we all saw, the 80-yard touchdown right out of the gate. But I feel like that was the only true highlight from Trey Lance, because let's just call it how it was. That was a beautiful throw. I'll absolutely give it to him. But overall, the guy really did look sloppy, and it looks like he hasn't played football in almost 2 years, but that's natural. I wasn't expecting a Trey Lance to absolutely light it up and come out there and throw for 200 yards or scramble all over the place. Like, he looked really how he was supposed to. And then you talk about his vision. I think he played with nice hesitation, but you saw that him staging those big throws a little early on in the possessions, like, he was ready for the downfield throw, and he got that with the 80-yard pass. But you look at some more of the downfield throws, they were pretty errant, pretty inaccurate, and overall you can tell that he's just a little too amped up for the moment. But again, this isn't a surprise from Trey Lance. This guy has a lot of fine-tuning to do, and all the pressure is on San Francisco. I mean, you move mountains for this guy, number 3 pick, Fields was on the board. I mean, you had all the disposal at your hand after moving mountains, and you take Trey Lance, and I don't think he's going to be bad. We've talked about what Trey Lance can be, but if there's one thing I will say that was a huge red flag to me, he looked afraid to move in the game. Like, whenever the pocket collapsed, dude had no pocket presence whatsoever, couldn't pick up pressure in his face, couldn't see the blocks collapsing, and overall, I felt like if he did see the blitz, it was just an immediate collapse. He didn't trust his mobility. He didn't trust to get out of the pocket and try to be off script like like a Zach Wilson or like a Justin Fields showed us over the weekend. So was a little concerning, but I mean, Trey Lance has a lot of work to do, so I'm not going to be super speculative about the kid.
I mean, I'm not mad at what he looked like. He obviously had the 80-yard bomb when he came out, but I mean, after that, he was 4 for 13 for only 48 yards.
Exactly.
I mean, that was highly unimpressive. He held onto the ball a lot too long. I mean, he took 4 sacks in the game, and he had no business taking no sacks because the man he's got basically the same ability as Justin Fields.
Exactly.
He's got the same measurables, like the size, the speed, all of it. He has the arm. The major difference between Trey Lance and Justin Fields at this very moment is that Trey Lance didn't play last season. He's rusty. Like, he's going to get it together. Like, this is the first time he's actually took a snap and had anyone blitz him in over a year. So, I think it's just like trying to get back into the flow of it. And the fact that they've got Jimmy G out there and Jimmy is healthy, no one's expecting Trey to come out here and play right now.
Exactly.
I mean, Trey can wait half the season, if not the whole season, because, I mean, with a healthy Jimmy G, we've seen how far San Francisco can go.
Exactly.
So all of those guys can save their jobs so long as Jimmy is healthy. And if Jimmy does get hurt, which he oftentimes does, hopefully for Trey, it'll be a little deeper into the season where he'll have had a lot of time to get reps in practice, get out there, learn the preparations, and then start to actually incorporate his own style into the game. So, I mean, he didn't really look good, but it's not as concerning because of the fact that we know that he hasn't played in so long. Like, I can only be so mad at him for that. Like, he's got all the intangibles and everything else. You got to give him a little bit more time.
Okay, Wesley, I see you over here in the comments. I don't have faith in Adams' predictions. Thank you, Jamila and Cher, for sticking up for me a little bit. He had faith in Tebow. Never said I had faith in Tebow to succeed. I said give him a chance. I did say the Colts would make the playoffs. I did. So you got me on that one. That's absolutely wrong. What else you guys saying up in here? Oh, you booked that. What do I book, Wesley? You got to tell me, man. I need more context. Either way, yeah, you got me on those couple things. But I did not have faith in Tebow, so do not get that twisted, sir.
Wesley just spit fire. We're going to get there. We haven't made it to Mac yet. Relax.
Mackie Mac.
Yeah,
Mr. Jones.
But yeah, man, I think Trey Lance will be fine.
Yeah. Yeah, and like you saw, like I said, downfield throws, outside the numbers, like they were pretty rough, but I think Trey Lance has a great coaching staff. He's in a good culture. This is a team that was already primed for the Super Bowl before they drafted him. So just imagine if he is a Justin Herbert or if he is a Mahomes, first year seeing the field. Like, how crazy would it be? Can't speculate too much yet because he's got a lot of talent under his belt.
I mean, Justin only won 9 games. I swear, y'all give Justin entirely too much credit for not having won anything.
Talented. And Lance is easily in a better situation than Justin Fields. Or not Fields, excuse me, Herbert.
Oh, absolutely. So, man, on to our quarterback of the show.
Oh.
Jets fans, we know y'all love it. Zach Wilson made his debut. He only attempted 9 passes.
Yep.
What are your takeaways from what you saw out of Zach Wilson?
I got to give it to the kid. The accuracy and the consistency with the delivery, it actually really surprised me. And I know this is preseason, but just the first snaps in general, seeing his first live action, like he didn't look timid. He didn't look afraid. He's got a quick release. But again, these are things that we saw at BYU. And I'm not going to say he looked fantastic or he was impeccable or had a Justin Fields type of performance. I mean, we're all talking about preseason at the end of the day, but with Zach Wilson and what he showed on the tape, I mean, there are some takeaways. I think he was pretty confident. He didn't have any mistakes. There weren't any really bad throws, and he didn't fumble like you saw some of these quarterbacks, in the preseason.
No bad throws.
There wasn't a lot of them. There really wasn't, like throws that would really make you win. Exactly. So, I mean, we're speculating off what? I think 2 minutes of highlights. Exactly. 9 passes, not a lot of snaps at all. But then you talk about your vision. I think he was a tad bit late on some of his reads. It did look like he was staring a little bit on some of those progressions. But, I mean, first action, he's going to get better with that. And if he doesn't, I mean, that will be an absolute, pit for turnovers, pit for interceptions, and just bad reads, a lot of tough passes. And the mobility, I feel like he has, a tiny bit of Kyler to him. Now, he's not going to be that great in the NFL, but if we're talking about size and just release of the football, it's Kyler Murray all day. He absolutely just flies the football out. Now, whether it's going to go 60, 70 yards down the field like a Watson or a Mahomes, that's a different question. Whether he's going to be a Kyler Murray, that's not a question at all, but he does show some of those traits. So Zach Wilson did have positives, and I think Jets fans are going to be all over it.
I mean, you almost lost me. You said a little bit of Kyler because you opened up with mobility when you mentioned Kyler. I was like, excuse me?
Talk about the way he moves around outside of the pocket, not the way Kyler dashes ahead of the line of scrimmage. Absolutely not. Kyler Murray is the second best running quarterback in the NFL.
I'm like, come on now. But, I mean, no, I'm not completely just going to blast Zach Wilson. I mean, he only threw 9 passes. He completed 6 of them. Granted, 3 of them were just underneath routes. I mean, they were very easy throws just to kind of get him into the flow of the game. He made 2 very good tight window passes, which I think, one of you Jets fans must have actually tuned him into Petty Sports to let him know that we were on him about
that. He was throwing some 50-50 snags that he was going to handle.
I'm going to show you that I can squeeze these 50-50 balls in there. But those 3 incompletions that he threw, 2 of them were actually absolutely terrible balls he threw. Just way off target, in the dirt. One of them I'll give him a pass for because I feel like that was pass interference and they didn't call it. So when you look at the play, it looks horrible. But when you look at it again, you're like, oh, they easily could have called that. He threw the ball to where the receiver was going, and the DB just kind of jumped in front of him and held him there. So that wasn't his fault. That actually could have been an interception. Yeah. The other 2 balls were bad, though. And, I mean, we're only talking about a 9-throw sample.
Right.
So
you better hit me with some math.
He didn't give us much.
Right. Yeah,
he didn't give us enough to make a full assessment. So, I mean, Jets fans, calm down, pump your brakes. He didn't throw any touchdowns. He didn't take off and run not one single time.
Right.
He didn't play enough to even give you that much. And I know you'll still try to kill us. He looked great. No, he didn't. He looked all right.
Yeah.
That's the best I can give him.
Yeah. I'm there with you, bro.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it looks like we still got a few minutes before we hit the next break. So what we're going to do is just jump on to the next one because our boy Wesley has already asked about him. So it's time for who? Mac Jones.
Mac. That guy.
Man, we saw Mac on Thursday night in his debut against the Washington football team. He actually played quite a bit. What are your takeaways from Mac?
Mac Jones overall, I mean, he looked pretty calm, looked pretty consistent, didn't look like he was really off of his game, held up in the pocket well, kept his eyes down the field. And if there's one thing I can say is, one thing that I did find was a little rugged about his game was the follow through and the release. I don't feel like his form is really all the way there yet, but we did see that a little bit as well at Alabama. We got a little off script because we know he's not a super mobile guy, but he did happen to scramble for a first down. So, when he wants to move, he can, but he's not going to have it as a first resort. Don't bank on him to have any sort of presence in that factor. But I think over time he does clean up, the form, like I mentioned. But then you talk about the vision, changing protection at the line, being a rookie. And again, we saw him do that at Alabama, but knowing that he's still confident enough to change his protection and it was effective for New England in the preseason. Yeah. Hopefully that does carry over and you'll get us, sort of a continuity, a wise guy at the quarterback position. You're not getting too much of a drop off, rather, going from Brady and then had Cam, who's still a very knowledgeable guy, but you were able to keep that same culture in a smart quarterback. And then, at the end of the day, he's not camping on his players. I don't feel like I really see him moving his head well, and he's not just going to camp on some of those receivers like we saw at Alabama. And he didn't necessarily do that with the Tide, but he had all the reason to because he's having these superstar receivers. Well, welcome to the NFL. Your coverage is way tighter. So overall, Mac Jones, I think he can be a guy that can go and win you 9, 10, and 11 games behind a New England defense, but I don't think he's going to be a franchise guy. But we'll see what happens. I mean, the Patriots saw something in him, so there is promise there for the team.
Yeah, I mean, as far as a franchise guy, that's yet to be seen. Just we got to look to see how he develops. So what he looks like at this very moment is a very effective game manager. I mean, with the type of defense that we have, he's not going to be expected to play right away. I know there's a lot of folks, even Wesley, sitting there in the chat that are like, "Yeah, let's talk about how he's going to take Cam's job." He didn't play against he did not play against the first team defense. There was no Chase Young on the field when Mac Jones was playing. He went 13 to 19, and he only threw for 87 yards because he threw a lot of short passes. Like he was throwing screens and slants, crossing routes. He only attempted 2 deep balls. One of them under pressure. He overshot his receiver. I think he threw it to Gunner. He overshot him by about a yard. Like it was close, but he got hit as he threw it.
Yep.
The other one, he threw it in the end zone, and it was a drop. It should have actually been a touchdown.
Right.
I mean, his 2 attempts on the deep balls were not bad. I mean, he definitely has the presence at the line of scrimmage to, just like you were alluding to, he changes the actual blocking schemes. He goes through progressions very well. He's just not a game-breaking quarterback.
Exactly.
Unless you get him those kind of weapons, then that's really not what he's going to be.
Right.
But he looks like he can actually come in and command an offense so long as that's all you're asking of him. He does protect the football, so you don't have to worry about that.
Yep.
And even to his mobility, he's very slow. I mean, nobody's actually ever accused him of being a quick guy, but he has enough pocket presence where he did step up and get a little quick 2-yard first down run.
Yep.
So like even being that slow, he understands the situation well enough to be like, I can get right there before y'all get to me.
Right.
So, I mean, he's effective enough, and he's going to have plenty of time to sit back there and groom. He's not playing this year. I've been trying to tell you guys. Y'all don't listen.
Right. Now, I agree with you.
Cam is the starter. Mac will play next year.
Yeah.
He's just going to get a whole year to soak everything up and learn.
Absolutely. And you mentioned him being a game manager. He's got some of those qualities, accuracy, not being afraid of the tight throws, the hesitation. And you even alluded, I think he kind of silenced the doubters with the couple of deep throws that, yes, were incomplete. But like Mac showed you, hey, if I see my targets, I'm going to let it rip, And even if the coverage is tight, because the dudes weren't wide open. I respect the throws from Mac. He's got a lot of improvement to go, though.
Both of them were tightly covered.
Right.
I mean, the drop touchdown, he dropped it right in his hands.
Literally.
He caught that.
Yeah, that was a great throw from Mac Jones. And everybody was hype about that, rightfully so.
Yes, I mean, he definitely had a good debut.
Right.
I mean, there's some promise there, especially knowing that we don't have to actually watch him play week 1.
Right. Shouldn't.
Absolutely not. So, yeah, man. There we go. It's about that time. It's 8:24 p.m. and y'all know what it is. We always got to pay homage to the late, great Kobe Bean, even during football season. Doesn't matter. So his birthday is coming up on Monday, right along with yours truly. Count us down.
I had to slip that in there. In 3, 2, 1, Kobe. R.I.P. to the Mamba. Cheers to Kobe, man. Cheers. You should still be here, brother. Legend, GOAT, forever great. Number 2 on my all-time list. Thank you, KD, by the way. MJ 1, Kobe 2. About time somebody got it right. Call the show if you got a problem with it. Get in the chat if you don't think so. It's NFL, but also NBA GOAT debate time if you're ready. Back to the program fees.
Oh, absolutely, man. I mean, I'll argue you down about that thing. But, before we jump back into our quarterbacks, we definitely got to let y'all know who pays these bills around here. So, man, just make sure y'all go to the website. Go to kingsbroadcasting.com. Y'all like, y'all comment, y'all share, y'all subscribe. Man, shop with us. Like we got tumblers, we got the mugs, we got the t-shirts, different colors. We got hats now. We got all kinds of merch. Man, spend some money with us. We got hoodies because it's about to start getting cold again, especially in some of these other spots.
Got mine in the car. You already know.
Yes, sir. We got everything on deck, man. Like, so, this ain't the only platform you can find us on. You can check us out on YouTube, Facebook. You can find us on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. Man, everywhere you do your podcasting, we're on iHeart. We on Simple Radio. We everywhere. Nope, I got them all this time.
Yeah, you absolutely got them, man. Guys, real simple. Check the link in the bio. Every bit of content, like Fee said. Please hit us with a sub on YouTube. You guys are really pushing us up there with the views, watch hours. We're about 800 subs away from really being able to make this a huge thing for you guys. Call the show. Get in the chat. We got every option for you, Fees. Let's get back into it, man.
Absolutely. All of my Facebook folks, subscribe on YouTube.
Super easy.
Get on there.
Link in the bio, in the description. It's everywhere. You can't not find it.
Oh, yeah, just like that. Last but certainly not least, because he was absolutely the number 1 pick in the draft.
How dare we?
They call him Sunshine. Trevor Lawrence. How did he fare in his first NFL action?
I got to say, the first play, he was definitely welcome to Jacksonville. I mean, sack, tight coverage. Oh, man, I can't make a quick throw. Like, all right, Trevor, we knew it was coming. But, yeah, right off the bat, welcome to the NFL, buddy. But after, things went on, he did look put together in the pocket. I did like the drop back. I did like the delivery of the football down the field. And that throw at the end of the first quarter after Marvin Jones saw he was in trouble and cut up the field, and Lawrence was able to see that, keep his eyes down the field, stand tall in the pocket with the pressure. Like, that was a perfect throw from a rookie. And if he can keep doing that, because we know that's what Trevor Lawrence is, then he'll definitely have success in the NFL. And I got to say, overall, everything was simple and underneath for him, but this is what we saw for a lot of these quarterbacks. Trevor Lawrence did his job. His hesitation was great. I mean, we saw some out routes from some receivers, some ins, a little bit, some curls to where, I mean, it really worked out for him. And it showed that Trevor Lawrence has probably the best hesitation in this draft class. He doesn't have to be mobile. He can push the ball down the field and give him some pre-snap adjustments, which we know he's got in him, and he's going to be a great quarterback. So I was impressed with Trevor Lawrence, but it's not a surprise. He was the number 1 overall pick for a reason.
Oh, absolutely. But I don't agree that he doesn't have to be mobile. I think with that offensive line of his, he's going to have to actually take off. He found out on the first snap.
It will be
he got
easier
sacked as soon as they snapped the ball.
Yep.
I feel like he has too much faith in his offensive line. Like, you guys are pros, I should be good. Like, no, this ain't Clemson. That's not what's happening. Like, they're not that good. He showed great poise in the pocket, and unlike almost every other quarterback that we've discussed, he played against the starting defense.
Yep.
So you must also take that into consideration. He looked good against actual number 1 defenders in his short time out on the field.
Yep.
So, I mean, that's definitely a plus for him. It's just a matter of he doesn't really have the weapons out there with him.
Right.
He's going to have to take a lot onto his old shoulders. It's going to have to be a gargantuan effort from him, Urban Meyer, and everyone else around there to actually bring that together. They've got to get him time. I mean, they've got a long way to go, but it's just as far as where I'm going to call him Justin Fields again. So as far as what Trevor Lawrence actually looks like, he was good. He's everything that what we thought he was. And I don't think his numbers are probably going to reflect it all season long because he just doesn't have the team around him to support it. So, I mean, it's going to be a long campaign. I'll just be interested to see how he's able to mentally cope with the fact that he's only lost like 2 games in the past 5 years or some craziness like that, because he didn't lose any in high school either.
Right.
He only lost 2 games in college his entire
National
career.
championship games.
Yeah.
Like, go figure. Oh, I lost in the biggest stage of them all. Oh, what was me?
Yes, I mean, that right there might be something that is like an obstacle for him. But I mean, outside of that, if he's able to keep his calm while they figure out how to build a team around him, then I think he could be good for a long time. But it's going to be all about his mental and his progressions and how he's able to actually just keep everything level and not let it get to him, the fact that you're no longer winning.
100%. And we know the quarterback is a mental position. And I mean, he's already dealing with, guy that he believed in being cut. I don't think it'll really affect him. But we heard the comments about Tebow. I don't think Lawrence is naive, though, to buy into it. But it is a big mental sport, and we'll see how he fares over the season.
Yeah, I mean, I think probably the whole Tebow thing was it was just purely out of respect. That's what I would say about that.
Kevin, LeBron at 2?
I mean, he had to laugh behind it because he's not serious.
Kevin.
It says Trey Lance is definitely going to be the best rookie. What, Trey Lance is the least likely to play.
Yeah, that is true, Carlos. Sorry, man. Appreciate you tuning in, by the way, brother. Knew you were going to show up. But, yeah, he does have the best coach. No question that he has the best coach. But
no, he doesn't.
Kyle Shanahan?
Mac Jones is playing for Bill Belichick. Sit down somewhere.
Oh, come on, bro.
He's not better than him.
At this point in the game?
He said he's
at this point in the game.
The best
with
coach.
The talent.
Absolutely not.
With the talent.
He doesn't have the best coach.
With the recent success.
You're talking about the team.
Better.
Best coach.
Excuse me, let's change the word better coach. Look what you did, Carlos. Better coach.
In no way, shape, or form on any planet you live on are you about to tell me that Kyle Shanahan is better than Bill Belichick?
At this moment, yes. Not overall, but at this moment, yes.
Even at this moment, how many games did San Francisco win last year? Are you going to tell me that they had injuries? Because we're not going to act like New England didn't either, and they didn't lose the greatest quarterback of all time.
Right.
What was San Francisco's record?
I hear you, buddy.
Yeah, miss me with Kyle Shanahan. Not giving you that.
Carlos, look what you did, bro.
Gotta win something.
Look what you did. You hopped up in here, man. Oh, my goodness.
Ridiculous. Nigga, you made me forget what I was even talking about.
Yeah, man, where were you?
Man, we were talking about Trevor Lawrence, so we're going to move on. We got bigger fish to fry because it's a wide receiver that's requested a trade. So we got to jump in on this one. It could be hot. So Seahawks fans, I need y'all to dial in.
Yes.
Because that is going to be the destination of choice for the night. Should Saints wide receiver Michael Thomas actually be getting calls from the Seattle Seahawks about coming over there to help Russ cook?
Man, so as hard as you just fought for Shanahan, not over Belichick, I'm saying absolutely not. Doubling down on this here. I think this would be a huge waste of time for Seattle. They don't play small like New Orleans does. We've seen over the years New Orleans has been a team that struggled to get cheap touchdowns, that struggled to make big plays down the field. Like, they are not a big chunk team like Seattle is, like a Lockett, like a Russell Wilson over Drew Brees, like a Metcalf. Like, we've seen what Seattle has turned into recently. But let's take a look at some of the numbers. The last 3 seasons in the NFL, Drew Brees was 3rd, 5th, and 8th worst in intended air yards. Flip over to Russell Wilson. He has been the 5th, 4th, and 13th best in the NFL in intended air yards. So there's an absolute night and day difference. It shows you Russell Wilson pushes the ball down the field. Drew Brees doesn't. We saw it all day.
Intended air yards?
Yeah, in other words,
Kind of a nerd status. I don't know what it means, but it's ridiculous.
Right.
I've never heard anyone reference it. Like,
right. Well, you have completed.
I wanted to throw that far.
Right.
Really?
I intended to. So, yes, there's intended air yards and then there's completed air yards. I was going to go back and forth between either one, but there really wasn't a major difference because the leap was night and day, like I'm trying to compare here with Brees and Russell Wilson. But another thing is, being in the NFC West, how would you effectively incorporate a Michael Thomas into that system? Are you going to slow down? Are you going to play short now with a team that equally the entire division is surging towards the top to get better season after season after season? Like, do people understand the entire NFC West can make the playoffs if things fall right with the length of the season and the competition that is in that division? So I think bringing in Michael Thomas just really takes a step back for them. Big contract. You're talking about a guy who's got a big ego at the moment, and I hate to say it as a Saints fan, but the Saints are putting up with a lot from him, and it kind of pisses me off because every time you see something with the Saints, Michael Thomas is always trying to throw a curveball to kind of manipulate the situation or favor himself, and that's just been the rap recently. So I got to say, Seattle, stay away from this. I think you can get really a better receiver with a better head in free agency at this point, especially with injuries. I mean, absolutely not.
I mean, he's not even going to miss that much time in the beginning, but I think they absolutely
quarter
should.
Of the season,
they absolutely should make that phone call. I mean, they're basically in Super Bowl or bust mode right now. Like, they're going to end up starting to blow it up if they don't win shortly.
Yep.
Their window is closing, and it's been closing for quite some time. Russ is complaining about cooking. They do go deep a lot, but I don't understand how you could think that it would be a bad thing to bring in a top flight wide receiver like Michael Thomas. If you have someone that is excellent at the underneath routes, he now has another option. Russ may not have to hold on to the ball so long. He holds on to the ball and waits for his deep wide receivers to get open because his wide receivers are just straight up deep ball wide receivers.
Yep.
They don't run the underneath routes. He'll get plenty of work out of Russ if he's able to get open and be an outlet, and now he can start chopping them down underneath. It will open everything up. I mean, it would be an excellent move for them, period. I mean, you're talking about the issues that he had out there just as far as his attitude, but the dude was just coming off, like, outside of last season where he was hurt and only played in 7 games.
Averaging 118 touches.
He came off of back-to-back 125-plus receiving seasons with 1,400-plus yards. broke the record for receiving for receptions in a season.
Yep.
9 touchdowns in both seasons, and you're telling me they shouldn't do that? The only way you justify it is to win. If you don't do it and you don't win, why not? You're gonna have to end up starting to blow this thing up anyway.
Got to pull the trigger.
If you're right at the edge, get whoever it is you can get in there so you can get that championship.
Yep.
Once you get it, you can blow it all up and you can suck for the next 3 years and no one will care because you brought in another Lombardi.
Yeah, and I'll just say this too. I know they're on opposite sides of the football, but Jamal Adams and Michael Thomas, I don't have a good feeling about them being in the same locker room. And you talk about all the mouths to feed as well that are on that Seattle offense with Metcalf, Lockett, you've got Everett, you've got Disley. And like we both just said, this is a dude that before the injury season, he was averaging 118 touches a season. Back-to-back 125 plus catch seasons. Like, we know Michael Thomas demands the football, and just Seattle doesn't play underneath enough for him. He's not a deep ball receiver, and I just think they could shop better elsewhere, honestly.
Yeah, but I mean, it would be a better situation than what he was actually sitting in New Orleans. And I know you being a Saints fan,
agree. No, I do agree.
Don't agree, but okay. I'm like, he's out there. He'll be out there with DK Metcalf,
More Super Bowl prime team,
Lockett.
Closer than the Star right now.
It's like him, Metcalf, and Lockett is a better wide receiving group than what he had with the Saints.
Yeah.
And I could argue with you to say that Russell Wilson is better than Drew Brees.
Oh, absolutely, bro. I mean, come on now. Drew Brees was horrible the last 2 years of his career.
Just able to do all of that. I mean, I could argue with you that he's better than him, period. But he has a lot more time to go for. He's able to get up on that list like that. But I mean, him coming into this situation, it would do nothing but elevate him and the rest of that team.
Right.
The offense will be another juggernaut offense that's virtually unstoppable.
In a loaded
and
NFC
he would
West.
take some of the heat off of Russ to make so many plays.
Yep. Demand more bodies, more looks for Lockett, maybe more looks for Metcalf.
Like, Russ is the reason why those guys are getting all those deep balls, but Russ is getting hit a lot.
Yep.
He's getting sacked a lot, and he's doing a lot of scrambling to make that happen.
Right.
If he had Michael Thomas getting open on his little short routes, because, you know, we call him slant man.
Yeah.
Hit him on the slants. Like, man, save Russ those hits.
Yep.
If he could take 15, 20 of those hits away because he gets open, that'd do wonders for them. Russ won't run down so fast, and then maybe Seattle can finish.
If Seahawks are smart, they'll make a call for Ryan Ramczyk, not Michael Thomas. They need O-line more than they need receiver. I mean, you just mentioned that there. Russ getting beat up. If they went and spent on Michael Thomas just for piss-poor performance, they would think all day about an offensive lineman. And I just don't think the Seahawks want to take that risk in a loaded division, like you said, basically being in a Super Bowl or bust, factor right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think they should all the way do it. So, I mean, y'all hit us up in the comments. Let us know what you think about that. I see Carlos doesn't like anybody that doesn't play for his team.
Nobody wants Michael Thomas right now, bro. His injury is scary, and he's a crybaby.
Oh,
I agree.
my God.
I agree, absolutely, because high ankle sprain, got rolled on last year. You don't know if he was ignoring, the training staff or if he was just being Michael Thomas again, being a diva. But either way, he's going to miss a quarter of the season. And, I mean, we're going to get into fantasy later. I'm staying away from that guy in fantasy. I am not touching Michael Thomas in fantasy this year. Don't depend on him for anything. So that's even more of a reason for the Seahawks not to take him.
What?
Nope.
Michael Thomas knew this was his way out. He knew Drew Brees was leaving.
He's like, I got to take the ankle.
Let me get my money. Like, I got to spend 4 years with Taysom or Jameis?
Oh, my God.
Give me my money.
He's like, let me just wait an extra couple of months to get this surgery and then force my way out.
Give me my money.
It doesn't seem a whole lot different than the Julio situation. Y'all wasn't calling him a crybaby.
Oh, well, so what's crazy is, some Falcons fans were kind of saying, little bit of the and I didn't agree about the diva comparisons, because what was funny is they couldn't really come forward with any concrete examples of how Julio was a diva. I was like, dude has potential to be third best wide receiver of all time. He's not a diva.
Much,
he wants to win. No, it's not much at all.
It
Julio
is.
Jones is arguably the most physical receiver we've seen outside of Calvin and Randy Moss.
T.O., he played.
Not as physical as Julio Jones. I'll give you the touchdowns, absolutely. Julio is a possession receiver.
No way I'm going to give him third all time.
I could.
Be up in the top 10, but third, no.
Where would you put him? Just real quick off the top. I'm not going to hold you to it crazy.
I mean, off the top of my head, maybe I would give him maybe like 6th or 7th.
Respectable.
And that's just not really actually going down a full mental Rolodex, but no way he's getting third. I mean, between Rice, Moss, and T.O., not happening.
I'll go 4. Can't put Calvin over Julio.
What?
Rice, Moss, Calvin, Julio. Top 4.
What?
Yeah, you heard me, sir. You heard me. Can we have someone call the show, please? Debates tonight. Debates. Going back and forth. Carlos is starting stuff up in the chat room, but nobody wants to call the show.
He better than Larry Fitzgerald?
Who's that? Who?
What? Julio.
Is Julio better than Larry Fitzgerald? That's kind of unfair to compare.
I mean, if you said all time, then nobody's unfair. You just said he was better than everybody outside.
Is Julio, like, we just talking about talent?
You said top 3 all time. You pretty much put everything into play. You can't now pre-qualify it again.
Yeah. So, yes, better than Larry Fitzgerald. Yes. More physical, bigger body, making a catch.
I just still can't give him that.
I mean, I understand. He's just an unstoppable receiver. He was the best receiver in the NFL for a decade. And I know Larry was too, but Larry wasn't a big play guy like Julio was. Julio streaked you 60, 70 yards down the field. That wasn't Larry.
Julio can't score touchdowns.
Yeah, we know. Can't score touchdowns.
We can't dismiss touchdowns.
Matt Ryan likes his tight ends, though. Come on now. Russell Gage, Olamide Zaccheaus, Ridley was catching touchdowns.
All of those yards and not scoring touchdowns, that's not Matt Ryan's fault. He's not getting in there.
Correct, because he's not being thrown to. Julio was attracting all the bodies to go to a Ridley, to go to a Gage, to go to a Kyle Pitts.
So then again, we turn around and say you can't dismiss his lack of touchdowns to say he's better than everybody because his quarterback wasn't throwing him the ball. But that doesn't even make sense.
But don't you think if the football was thrown his way, he would get in the end zone? Well, Julio Jones doesn't get red zone targets.
When we have a discussion about greatest of all time or top 3 or 4, there's no ifs.
Yeah.
I'm not entertaining
We're
anything
talking about talent, though. Talent. If you don't get the shot, how can you justify that?
I'm not entertaining anything that didn't happen. We're talking about top 3 of all time. Ain't no ifs.
He can still be up there, though. Absolutely.
He's not.
He's not thrown to in the red zone. You can't discount a guy for something that he doesn't get the chance for.
Whose fault is that?
Matt Ryan's. It's not Julio's. Well, Julio demands 2-3 bodies in the red zone. That's why he doesn't get thrown towards.
I mean, hey, he didn't win. I mean, he didn't.
Watch Julio Jones score 10 touchdowns this year. Watch that.
No. We'll get to that when we get to our fantasy wide receivers.
We got a lot coming. Heated show tonight, guys. Loving the NFL. Let's keep it rolling, man.
Yeah, man. We can't get anybody to hit this line, though.
I know. They're scared, dude. We're not that big and bad, guys. We're just having fun on the show. Come on. Appreciate y'all in the chat room, though. Y'all are doing great in the chat room. Got some live viewers tonight.
Oh, my
y'all are
God.
amazing.
This guy. Somebody, we're going to block Wesley. Vrabel's better than Shanahan and Belichick as of right now.
Oh my goodness.
For anyone who's your first time tuning in, Wesley Davis thinks that the Tennessee Titans are going to go 17-0 and then win the next 3 games to have a historic 20-0 season, and no one should ever speak against Tennessee. It's ridiculous. The Tennessee Titans are a good football team, but they're not that good, man. Sit down somewhere.
Correct. Yeah, Tennessee Titans they're playing in one of the worst divisions in football. I mean, if they win the division, it's not really impressive because now the Colts don't have a quarterback. It's the Titans were close because of a little surge from Derrick Henry, came back to earth, figured out, yes, Julio was there, but again, risky injuries. I don't know, dude. So DeAndre asks, Graham, appreciate the question, man. Of the first-year quarterbacks, who makes that improvement for preseason week 2? I got to say it's Trey Lance. I think Trey Lance obviously has the most to prove. I think he sees more time. And, I mean, he's already seen his first level of action. So, if anything, he's just going to go watch the tape, get into the film room with Shanahan, and at the end of the day, just come out and improve, be better, be more put together. And he just needs time, reps. I mean, get the dude throwing 2,000 footballs a day if you want some real improvement. So, I think Trey Lance has the most to prove in week 2.
Yeah, I mean, I can agree with that just from the mere fact that Trey Lance has the most actual improvement available.
Right.
Everyone else looked fairly decent. They look crisp. I mean, some of them didn't get very many reps, but Zach Wilson and Trevor Lawrence didn't get reps, but they looked decent in the little short time that they were out there. He's got more to come up from, so it's definitely going to be him.
Right.
He'll probably get more playing time. And he should do better. I mean, he's going to progress every time you see him hit the field just because he's rusty. Once he knocks it off, he's going to start looking similar to what Justin Fields is looking like.
Yep.
Because he's that kind of player.
Yep. Highly agree.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely, man. Now, we did hit 8:45. We're going to take a few minutes one more time to let y'all know who pays these bills around here. Normally, we would throw this thing to Michael Beasley, but he's not here just yet. So I'm going to take it away from him. So, man, y'all are watching Petty Sports on King's Broadcasting Studios. Y'all go ahead and jump on the website. Y'all can hit us with the donations. Go ahead and like us, share us. Y'all know no donation is too small or too big. Y'all know, as my man always say, y'all support black business, support black business, support black business. Man, y'all get on some of this merchandise. We got the hot T-shirts. We got them in multiple colors. We ain't wearing all of them today. We got the black, we got the red, we got the polos, we got the hats, we got the tumblers, we got the coffee mugs, the hoodies. Anything you want, we got it. It's all petty, all day, every day. Make sure you check us out on all of your streaming platforms. Tell all your friends. Ain't nobody doing it better than us in the A. Man, let's bring this thing back because we got a brand new segment for y'all today.
Let's do it, man. Hopping into the next NFL segment. Fees, this one is, we're going to ruffle some feathers here. Got some creative titles for the folks. What do we got, man?
Yes, sir. Petty Premonitions with a Petty Sports crew. We'll let y'all know what's happening for this season. Our first Petty Premonition. Who will be the 2019 Pats/2020 Steelers this season? And if y'all don't know what we're talking about, the 2019 Pats started off 8-0, finished the season 12-4, lost in lost in the wild card, and were out. Looked like world beaters. 2020 Steelers started off 11-0, finished 12-4, lost in the wild card round. Looked like world beaters. Who is going to follow that model? I mean, both defenses were on a historic run in both of those seasons until that zero fell off the other side.
Yeah. Oh, jeez.
It's real. I can give you numbers on both of them. I mean,
100%.
And I'm talking about my own team before someone that we know who's listening starts to get in their feelings about the Steelers.
Yeah, incoming Jamila Mathis comments.
Who's going to get that crown of being the 2019 Pats/2020 Steelers for this 2021 season?
My very first petty premonition of the 2021 NFL season is going to be awarded to the Dallas Cowboys, because when you hand the most toxic fan base in the NFL the second easiest schedule, you're going to ask for ridiculous expectations, but that's what this team does year in and year out. And when you look at their schedule realistically, they could start 3-3, potentially win 5 out of their next 6 and jump to an 8-4 record. Now, that's not blazing hot. That's not 11-0, 12-0 like we were mentioning. But what do the Cowboys fans do? They win a few games. They're undefeated. Super Bowl bound. Dak for MVP. He's going to throw for 70 touchdowns. We hear it all the time from the Cowboys fans. And this is why, hey, trust me, dude, we've heard it all with the Cowboys fans. But this is why we have to give them this award. And what's crazy is this is totally a team and a schedule with the combination that can win 12 or 13 games. But the Cowboys piss me off every single year because I bank on them to have talent. They always have talent, but it's coaching. It's between the ears. It's the chemistry. It's the system that they don't have there in the franchise. And they have a spread from 4 games to 12 games for winning. I mean, let's just call it how it is. And I think the Cowboys can come out and they could catch a hot record. And their last 5 seems so cupcake-ish, but knowing how the Cowboys are, they could easily stink it up, fall to 9-8, well, whatever the case may be. I mean, I think it has to be the Cowboys with just terms of second easiest schedule, quarterbacks coming back, toxic fan base. Like, they're going to get let down. Cowboys are definitely going to be that team this year.
Not mad at that. I mean, the only reason I wouldn't go Cowboys, I think that they're gonna lose week 1 so bad to Tampa that they won't have any more hopes or dreams.
And if Dak doesn't play like you've been speculating too, man. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, but the 2019-2020 Pats/Steelers version of the 2021 season will be the Washington football team.
Oh.
Just like the Dallas Cowboys, they have a bottom 4 schedule.
NFC East.
Yeah, I mean, it's the whole schedule. The whole division has weak teams on their schedule like that. But just to actually look at how they're starting the schedule, they've got the Chargers, the Giants, at the Bills, at the Falcons, the Saints, and then the Chiefs. That is well within the Fitzmagic Shanahan and Belichick as of right now. Fitzmagic usually will give you 4 to 6 lights out games to start a season.
Yep.
And then he falls off. That glass slipper comes off. I think they'll go 5-1 in that first stretch and actually have good wins under their belt. So they do have a very good defense. I think they can easily take out the Chargers and the Giants. I think they will stun the Bills I was about to say in Austin. They haven't moved yet. But they will go.
You didn't go there. You did not go there on Bills Mafia.
They will go to Buffalo and beat the Bills because Fitzmagic's got a little history out there with Buffalo. They'll come right here to Atlanta and beat the Falcons. They will then beat the Saints. Think their first loss will be to the Chiefs as they're 5-0 going into that stretch. And then the ceiling will fall because Fitzmagic the magic is gone. You got Green Bay, who can outscore you. You go to Denver, high altitude, strong defense, possibly a much better offense this year. Yet to be seen, but it could be. You got Tampa, at Carolina, Seattle, and at Vegas. I think their record is going to fall in their second half stretch, but they will start off the season similar to how they did before Alex Smith got hurt. They were 6-2 leading the division. He got hurt, and they only won one more game the rest of the season.
Yep.
So, I mean, it's going to be something like that. I think that the Washington football team will be the one to come out guns blazing and fall off the cliff.
I could totally see it, especially with the expectations. Huge defense. They feel excited. I mean, football team fans were blasting us on YouTube, dude, when we put out the prediction. And it's like, dude, you really trust in a quarterback playing for his umpteenth team in his 15-plus year career?
It's like 11.
Is it?
Yeah.
God, I thought it was like 9. 11?
No, he's definitely in the double digits. I believe it's 11 if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. I mean, just like when you've got budding stars, Antonio Gibson, Terry McLaurin, Chase Young, like your O-line, and y'all totally roast me on the O-line, and you absolutely got me there. Y'all do have a great O-line for Washington, so that just adds to it. And you go out and get Fitzpatrick. Like, Chicago was right next to you in the draft, and they made a hell of a leap. Stole the first round, stole the draft. You were right there, too. Didn't do anything. So I got to agree with you, Fees. Absolutely.
Yeah, I can absolutely see that coming from them. So, I mean, our next petty premonition. Told you, we getting it in for you this time.
Yes. All NFL show today. Loaded. Let's go.
Which team will overpromise and underdeliver this season?
This was a tough one, man. I saw some people saying the Saints, some people saying the Chargers. And I feel like those teams are going to kind of land where they're supposed to. But if we're talking about a team that does have some questions, especially around the quarterback position, but the defense is kind of there again, let's take a look at the Miami Dolphins. A lot of speculation is on Tua. They did set out to make the offense better. You know, they went and got Jalen Waddle, big home run hitter, brought in a veteran in Fuller, and they do have now a solid receiving core for Tua, so there's no excuses that he doesn't have weapons. Gesicki's a great security blanket. Like, he's got great fantasy value, so he's going to bring you production at a young age, too. Like, he's a top tight end in the NFL, so we cannot say any longer that Tua doesn't have people around him. And when you combine that with the 5th easiest schedule in the NFL, and Brian Flores did go from 5 to 10 plus wins in his season, or I think it was 5 to, they were 10-6, correct?
Yeah.
So it went from 5 to 10 wins, doubling his wins. There's big expectations there. And then when you project them at 9 wins, I just like that's a lot for a team that, I mean, like, you don't know what Tua's going to bring. Now, I have faith in him. I've liked Tua since college. I liked him coming in. I think he would have been the number 1 overall pick if he wasn't hurt. Like, we know Tua's talented, but at the end of the day, there's a lot of speculation. He's got to show it with the arm, and he's got the weapons now. All eyes are on him. I think they overpromise, though, and definitely underdeliver on the season. And I think they can miss the playoffs, to be honest, in that AFC division that did get significantly better in the offseason, even with the Jets.
Oh, man, I absolutely agree with you on that one. I didn't pick them just because I didn't have them overpromising. They just underdeliver.
Right.
I don't expect it.
Right.
But, man, who I've got in that spot, the Indianapolis Colts. They're expecting nothing short of a Super Bowl run. They may not be expecting to win one, but at least the AFC Championship with the type of roster that they built up.
Exactly.
They have a lot of faith in Carson Wentz, which is beyond my, like, I have no idea where all this faith is coming from. They're now reporting that Wentz may be ready for week 1 at Seattle, where it's against Seattle. They're playing at home. It doesn't really matter. If Russell Wilson and company come in there, regardless of if Wentz is starting or not, they're not beating Seattle. Their schedule is just not their friend. I mean, for how well they played last year, they're coming out this season, their first 8 games, they've got Seattle, the Rams, the Titans, the Dolphins, the Ravens. They get a little break with Houston, but then you get San Francisco and Tennessee again. They're going to start off the season 2-6. I don't care who their quarterback is. and they might not beat Miami in South Beach.
Right.
So they could be 1-7. That's going to be the end of the year for them.
Yep.
Doesn't matter how they rebound on the other side. You're not going to win all the rest of the games.
Nope.
So, I mean, that'll be a wrap. After 8 weeks, the Indianapolis Colts are done. Their overpromising is outlandish. They will disgustingly underdeliver. And I don't care how many of you have whatever it is you want to say about it. Drop it in the comments. I'll come in and fight you about it.
Professional comment taker, famous facts fees.
Zero faith in it at all.
Man.
It's a shame, man. I mean, that's all I can see at the end of the season for the Colts is another one of those at least you tried banners.
Getting disrespectful over here now.
I mean, it's not like it's like I'm not making it up, though.
Right.
Have you seen the banners up in their stadium?
Yeah.
They got AFC finalists, AFC runner-up. What the hell is that? Like, you got banners up for losing the AFC championship? You got an AFC wild card banner? You don't get to put up a banner every year for whatever you made it to?
That's literally what they're doing.
Bruh.
They got like 30 banners in there, one Super Bowl banner. You don't put up a banner if it's not a Lombardi.
Oh, my God, dude.
Jesus. They got a runner-up banner in there for when the Saints ramshacked them in the Super Bowl.
That's right, baby.
They put up a banner for everything.
That's right. Super Bowl runner-up. Indianapolis Colts, 2009-2010 season. Thank you.
Like, y'all gonna put up a new banner for Peyton making the Hall of Fame?
Right.
It's gonna have a forehead on it.
Oh, man, they did him dirty with his statue. They did him dirty with his statue, man. It was horrible.
I thought it was Photoshop, bro.
Yeah, I swore that was made up. So, man, we reached the top of the hour. We're going to take another short break, man. It's almost 9 o'clock in Petty Land. Y'all know what it is. It's your boys right here, Petty Sports, the podcast. Make sure y'all follow us on iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Simple Radio, TikTok, YouTube,
Absolutely.
IG, Facebook, Twitter. We got heated little conversations going on right here in the chat in both the Facebook and the YouTube. Man, make sure y'all tune in and chop it up with us. We hear you. See, we'll respond to you if you chop it up with us. Call the Petty line. It's 678-871-9602. We here for you all night. We got 2 hours. We got 1 hour left. Holla at us.
Seriously, guys, cranking out nothing but NFL content, and we have no callers. Y'all got to get into the show, man. I mean, we're chopping up great topics, super creative segments for you guys. Finishing the premonitions now. 678, you see it right there on the screen, 871-9602. Link in the bio. Subscribe, hit the bell, get in the chat. I know we're asking a lot, but it just makes the show better. Fees. Let's get an hour or two, man. Great show so far.
Absolutely, y'all. You were listening to Petty Sports, the podcast, brought to you by King's Broadcasting Studio. We are here at the top of the hour for hour number 2. It's been hot and heavy. It's your boy, the host, Famous Fees. They call me Facts. Adam, holla at 'em.
What's going on, guys? We are back at the top of the hour, man. Great loaded NFL show. Nothing but NFL today. We've been talking boxing, tennis, track, NBA for months now, man. And from here on out, just be ready for probably about the next 7 to 8 months. Well, really forever on the show. Look, man, 90% NFL. Just be ready. Might not be that much, but realistically, just be ready for nothing but NFL content, rankings, list, debates, everything, guys. This is your one-stop shop for the 2021 season. Fees. Let's get an hour or two, bro.
Oh, yeah, we're picking right back up with petty premonitions. This extra petty tonight. So for the premonition number 3, which NFL team will be the 2020 Chargers of last year, meaning who's going to have a bad record but be in every game? Give everybody a run for your money.
We were just talking about the guy, and I'm going to give it up to the Chicago Bears, and I highly attribute it to the to Justin Fields and that offense. You know, we talked about him looking pretty good in the debut. In the preseason, I do have high hopes for him walking into this season with the Chicago Bears. He's got Allen Robinson. He's going to have a healthy running back coming back. Some people say crazy stuff about Jimmy Graham, but he'll be a security blanket when he needs him to be. He's got Darnell Mooney. And overall, you know, like I said, he does have a little bit of an Aaron Rodgers to him. He's kind of twitchy. He can be flexible outside of the pocket, and he'll just be a guy that's just going to be so hard to game plan for. And I feel like that's what really gives them this title. And you talk about them being a Chargers, being a Panthers. What did those teams kind of have in common? Decent amount of talent on the offense and a defense that was pretty suspect. If you look at the Bears, outside of Khalil Mack and Eddie Jackson, there's a lot of questions, and there's a lot of potential talent on that defense, but you don't know if they're going to deliver. That's what contributes to the bad record. So if we're talking about a team in this aspect, I got to give it to the Chicago Bears. I think they're perfectly lined up for this one.
I don't know, man. I think the Bears actually will have a pretty decent season. They'll probably finish second in the division, possibly catch that seventh wild card spot. So I don't think that would qualify them for that.
Justin Fields in a postseason as a rookie, man, I would be highly excited.
They made it at 8-8 last year.
Right.
But I feel like I have two teams for this one, actually. Philadelphia Eagles. They got a really young roster all the way across the board. They have the second easiest schedule in the league. They'll still be below 500, but I think Philly will give a lot of teams a run for their money. Hurts is going to put up a lot of numbers because he's going to be throwing the ball a lot and doing a lot of running. They just won't be winning, but I don't think they're going to be getting blown out.
Right.
And I think he's making steps. He's going to progress, and he's going to get better as they make a few key pickups. Like, I would definitely be willing to take the Philly serious in another year or so. Like they just need a little bit of time. But I think the team is actually decent. They're just not going to be winning games. I can absolutely see them there. The second team I have in this category is the team that we named for the category last year. The Chargers are still going to be that team. They'll be in games, and they're still going to lose a lot of games to the tune of winning about 6 or 7 games this season, just like last year. They did not improve substantially to where I would give them any nod saying they're going over 500 and they're making the playoffs. I know a lot of y'all are high on Justin Herbert. He put up a lot of numbers, and they weren't winning a whole lot of games.
Yep.
Their record wasn't terrible, but it wasn't that good either. 7-9 is just middle of the road. That's nothing that's giving me confidence to say that, they're going to turn a corner and win 11 or 12 games like most of y'all are, for whatever reason, assuming like Justin Herbert is the second coming. They're calling him the best prospect since Andrew Luck. He had a good year last year, but they weren't winning. I don't care how many numbers you put up. If you're not winning, I'm not really interested.
Right.
That's just how I feel about it. You got to win. Then I'll watch. I'll listen after you win.
Right.
And I know their fans had a lot to say about it because I confused y'all running backs. Doesn't matter. Your team is not there. Your team just ain't quite there yet. Y'all ain't winning that division. You playing against Kansas City.
Yeah. A lot of work to do. A lot of work to do for them.
And I don't feel like you're really better than the Raiders.
Chargers?
No.
Wow. Better than the Raiders?
I have them finishing with the same record and the Raiders winning the tiebreaker for in-division games because the Raiders will sneak the Chiefs just like they do every year.
Yeah.
The Chargers ain't going to beat them, but the Raiders have just seem to have a number. They don't beat them every year, but they play them a lot tighter.
I think the Chargers could beat the Chiefs at least once this year, especially with the roster upgrades. It'll be a good game because they both have great O-lines, so it's going to be, whoever can really play better in the trenches, would win. Honestly, battle the defensive lines, and I think I'd kind of give the edge to the Chargers.
Yeah, I give the edge to Pat Mahomes.
I'll see it when I believe it. Oh, man.
Not a fan of all this hope. Show me.
Right. What are the numbers?
Exactly.
Yep.
So, man, our last petty premonition for the night, we gave you 4 of them. This one about to go hard, too. On average, 4 teams every season that missed the playoffs last year make them the following year. And then on the flip side of it, 4 teams that made the playoffs last year miss them next year. So this one is a 2-part premonition.
Yep.
Who are your 4 teams that you have that missed the playoffs last season that are making it this year?
Number 1 has to be the New England Patriots, man. Belichick's on a mission, acquired really good talent for Cam Newton, no question. We saw the amount of money that he spent in free agency. Players are coming back, full offseason, top coach in the NFL, like we mentioned with Belichick, and a favorable strength of schedule at 19th overall, so they do get a break there. And overall, this is a really exciting team to watch in the NFL. Do you want me to go down the whole list for the miss but we'll make? You want to do it that way?
I'll go 1 for 1 with you. I mean,
Okay, cool.
I have the same one at the top.
Right.
You knew I was going with the Patriots.
They got to sneak in.
7-9 last year with all the injuries and the ops out. Second year in the system for Cam. Massive free agent acquisitions.
Yep.
I mean, there's all roads point to the team being much better, especially seeing as how last year they had the number 1 strength of schedule in the league, and now it's 19th. Like, that's definitely a breath of fresh air for them in addition to all of everything else that they have changed. So I can absolutely see them sliding into the playoffs in one of those wild card spots.
Right. Absolutely. Right there with you. Number 2 for me, man, is going to be the LA Chargers. We were just talking about them. I think this entire roster is now healthy. You got a Keenan Allen, Austin Eckler, Bosa, Derwin James. You guys already know how I feel about Justin Herbert. And then you have your top 5 players right there for this Chargers team. And when you look at how they upgraded the offensive line with Corey Linsley, they went and got a Rashawn Slater. I think this is a top 10 offensive line in the NFL at this point. You got a Jared Cook that they brought in. He's a solid tight end. You saw him peak a little bit towards the end of his career with the New Orleans Saints. Herbert, big arm guy, can move outside of the pocket. And let's be real, Herbert outplayed Drew Brees last year when they met in the Superdome, and they about beat them, if it wasn't for Chargers culture and Anthony Lynn blowing games at the end of the day. And, when you take a look at their head coach, Brandon Staley, was the defensive coordinator for the best defense in the NFL last year, the Rams. They're going to bring that defense back around. They've got healthy stars coming back, so I definitely got to give it to the Chargers for a team that will miss, but now will make the playoffs this coming season.
Oh, my second no-brainer pick is the San Francisco 49ers.
Yep.
6-10 last year. Now they got a healthy Jimmy G. They got a promising backup in Trey Lance just in case something happens to Jimmy. Kittle is back. Bosa is back. This team is poised to actually make a Super Bowl run. They got Shanahan running things. No, he is a very good coach. I'm not giving him best coach in the NFL like some people that are listening to us, but the San Francisco 49ers are absolutely going to turn this thing all the way around because pretty much all of what happened to them last year was due to injury. I mean, I have them winning the division, not only just making the playoffs. They're hosting a playoff game this year.
NFC West champions are the Niners? Wow. That's big for a quarterback situation, for a quarterback question mark, man.
Jimmy's healthy.
Yeah, but will he stay healthy?
It's not a question mark. He's healthy.
Yeah, for now. I
mean, for every team in the league, we're assuming health unless their quarterback is already hurt, a la Dak.
I love how you position it. So, if the Niners get hurt, who's winning the NFC West for you?
I mean, that's ridiculous. I'll approach that if it happens.
Trey Lance and Jimmy G, that's really different, man. Oh, that's really different.
I had Seattle at second, so that would bump them up.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough. Speaking of an NFC West team, though, sticking here with the miss, but will now make the playoffs this year, it's finally time for the Arizona Cardinals to sneak in. Absolutely time for these Cardinals to sneak into the playoffs, man. I think Kyler Murray is going to be in the MVP conversation this year. And although the players that they did acquire are old, I think if they perform in the key spots like I think this team was banking on and bringing them in, I think they can get to a better record that they had at an 8-6 when Kyler Murray got hurt last year. They could have been a double-digit win team last year. They could have gotten to the playoffs. Kyler with the shoulder wasn't himself, and they had to really depend on the backup, who, I'm going to be honest with you, I can't even name because he didn't matter. That's how effective Kyler is. And then you look at, I think they could easily win 2 to 3 more games coming into this year. It's another year to build with DeAndre Hopkins. Kyler Murray is obviously going to take that step. And then they've been drafting a lot of defensive players that have been really talented in the past. Yes, you lose Patrick Peterson, but you got a Budda Baker. You got an Isaiah Simmons. I want to say you just went and got, a Zaven Collins out of the NFL draft. So it's time for this defensive class to finally pop. It's time for them to give them an edge in the NFC West, and I've got the Cardinals going to the playoffs this year. Kyler Murray will be in your NFL postseason.
I absolutely don't see that like any way, shape, or form.
It's got to be, man. You're just hating if you don't think the Cardinals are making it, brother.
Well, I mean,
you're just a hater.
There's a reason why you can't remember who the backup is.
What's that supposed to mean?
Because Kyler played all 16 games. That's why.
No, he didn't.
Yes, he did.
He was hurt.
He played all 16 games.
Okay, excuse me. Yes, played all 16, but he was injured severely.
Well, that's
the
why
injury was nasty on the shoulder.
Come on, bro.
Horrible on the shoulder.
He played every game.
Go look at his stats from when he was hurt.
The next quarterback on the team had 16 attempts for the season. Kyler Murray threw all the balls.
The backup got some time.
16 passes for the whole season. That's one throw a game.
Yeah, give us a healthy Kyler, though.
One throw a game?
Give us a healthy Kyler.
All I'm saying is he played all year.
Okay, that's fine. Give us a healthy Kyler, though.
That's why you don't know who the backup is, because the backup didn't play.
Absolutely. Give us a healthy Kyler, though. You'd have more than the wins that they had last year. They would be making the playoffs.
Yeah, not buying that.
And that's why they're going to run to it this year.
Not buying it. Dallas Cowboys, 6-10 last year. No Dak for 11 out of the 16 games. They got a slimmed down Zeke, new defensive coordinator in Dan Quinn, who's supposed to turn things around. And the division is just terrible. So it's not like they have a lot pushing up against them. Granted, we didn't know what the situation was with Dak, and I still don't know what it is with Dak. So if Dak actually plays, then they'll easily win the division. If they have to go with one of those mechanics that plays backup for the Cowboys, then no. We're talking about, what, Gilbert and who is the other guy? He has a very weird name.
Oh, Ben DiNucci?
Yeah, DiNucci. Yeah, neither one of them. We're not worried about those guys. So given we got Dak, for the Cowboys, they lose week 1 regardless, so which I think he should just sit out. He should sit out until week 2. They have the easiest schedule in the entire NFL outside of the opener at Tampa. Don't play him that week. Then he can actually finish the season for you and win that terrible division. So I think that is an easy shoe-in for a team that didn't make it last year to get in this year. Because their schedule is just god-awful. And so is the division. Who do you have for your 4th team?
Number 4, Niners. Like you said, man, Niners, you mentioned them earlier. And, this would have been a Super Bowl team this year already, or as well last year, but they had the injury bug, really brought them down, and we saw them miss the playoffs. And, like I was just mentioning, I think the question is it Trey Lance or is it Jimmy Garoppolo? And that's a little nerve-wracking to me because we just saw it in preseason. Trey Lance, he's sloppy. He's not put together. He needs more time. Jimmy G, he's injury-prone. He showed you that he can't make major throws, and he's got more to prove outside of, yes, a 1 Super Bowl season. Well, guess what? That's the only true season he's played in the NFL where he stayed all the way healthy. And this roster is loaded from top to bottom. I mean, we don't even need to dig into it. We know who they've got. Great coaching staff. They've got a winning culture there in San Francisco, and they're trying to reestablish that Super Bowl type of season. So I think the Niners do make it back. No matter whether it's Jimmy or Trey, I think they can at least sneak in because they're going to have that much talent to push them into the playoffs.
Okay. I mean, I agree with that. So I definitely got them on my list too. I actually don't have a 4th team in because I don't think another team will get in. So It's on average that you get 4. I only think that the NFC will have 2 teams out and the AFC 1.
Right.
So now with that, we can switch to the other side of this coin, which is what's really going to get people's blood boiling.
Oh,
they don't care about who we put in. They want to know who we're taking out.
Who is missing the playoffs?
So your first team of the 4 who you have actually missing the playoffs that made them last year.
Yes, sir. Homer pick for you, so it's a homer pick for me. The New Orleans Saints, horrible draft. Quarterback retired. No offensive weapons outside of Alvin Kamara, and he could even potentially be a doom for fantasy. The defense lost key pieces. Trey Hendrickson, Janoris Jenkins is gone. Marshawn Lattimore had a shaky season. You really just hope that, Patrick Peterson left. You hope that, who is our safety? God, I can't remember the safety from the Eagles. Why am I drawing a blank? Malcolm
Jenkins.
Yeah, Malcolm Jenkins. Like, you got to hope Malcolm Jenkins, Marcus Williams, Marshawn Lattimore can hold down that secondary with the DeMario Davis because they lost a lot of key players. I mean, they don't have a number 1 wide receiver right now. They move mountains for cap space, but it shows in the roster. So, unfortunately, my New Orleans Saints had a nice 4-year run, but they're not going to make the playoffs this year. And I guess I'm ready for it. I don't know. I don't know, man. It's got to be odd this year.
See, that man just had like a little therapy session over there on air. How does that couch feel?
Yeah. Shoot, bro. I'll be cheering on the Patriots with you, man.
My first team out is the Colts. 11-5 last year. No quarterback. I mean, he might play, but I still consider Carson Wentz no quarterback. They got a monster schedule. It's not in the cards for them. They're not going to be able to get past those first 8 games to be in a position to make the playoffs, even as bad as their division is, because you have other divisions in the AFC like the North and possibly the East that could get multiple teams in, and there won't be any spaces left. Like, it's really just going to be as simplistic as that. I mean, that's where I am with my first one. Who you got for your second team out?
Number 2 is the Pittsburgh Steelers. It's very hard to believe in this team's quarterback situation right now. They got massively exposed last season in the playoffs, and I understand they had a lot of games to play in that 11-day span. But either way, they still flamed out. They still got eliminated in the wild card. Couldn't even win a playoff game. Were just absolutely blasted off the map by the Cleveland Browns. And I think this is easily the third best team in the division with the Fool's Gold schedule that they had last year. You could potentially see the same thing this year. And what's crazy is you even saw the Bengals beat them late in the season. I think the Bengals did get a little bit better. They are going to have Jamar Chase, and overall they're looking just to have another push in a division that the bottom of it's kind of up for grabs. I mean, don't be surprised if the Pittsburgh Steelers will be last in this division. And let's just be real for a second. The wide receiver core is questionable, and they have the second worst offensive line in the NFL, according to Pro Football Focus. So have fun with an old quarterback and a rookie running back trying to make this team a playoff team. It's not going to happen. The Steelers are missing out this year.
Joe Burrow and Joe Mixon didn't play in that game either.
Next. Next.
Yeah, it's that bad.
Jeez, dude.
I've got the LA Rams on deck to miss the playoffs.
Oh.
They were 10-6 last year. Brand new quarterback, no running back. The 49ers are back, and they've got crazy pressure on Matt Stafford and McVay.
Yep.
I mean, McVay pushed Goff out and acted like he was the issue, even though you went to a Super Bowl with him. He had very good seasons for the past 3 years under McVay. McVay hasn't had any success with any other quarterback under center. He's getting all the credit and be like, oh, well, he does this or that. It's like, yeah, Jared Goff looked bad under Jeff Fisher, and then McVay came in, turned him around. They went to the Super Bowl. He had another very good year behind it. And even last year, they went 10-6. The man took them to the playoffs and won a playoff game. And then you shipped him out and gave away picks. Like, they acted like Jared Goff was the entire reason for them not going back to the Super Bowl. So now as you fast forward, you're bringing in Matt Stafford. The expectation for him isn't to win the division. It isn't to make the playoffs. The expectation is for you to actually win the Super Bowl because the quarterback that was there before you won he got to the Super Bowl. He didn't win it, but he got all the way there.
Yep.
Like, that bar is crazy high.
Yep.
And if you turn around and miss the playoffs, now we're going to be looking at questioning McVay. Why did you get rid of Goff? Why did you sell away those picks to let him go? And then we'll be looking at Matt Stafford. You've never accomplished anything. You've been given excuses.
Underachiever
You
at
played
best.
at Georgia and was like, oh, but there was Bama. You played with Detroit. They say, oh, you didn't have any weapons, even though you were the only quarterback that Megatron ever played with. Like, you had weapons, and all of your great seasons were with Megatron, and you never won any playoff games. Granted, you made 3 of them, but you didn't win any. Now you're expected to not only get to the playoffs and win, but you're expected to win all of the games. It's not going to happen. It's too much pressure. Division is too good. Pressure is too high. I see the Rams folding. Not sold at all. Who you got at number 3?
Number 3 is definitely going to be the Indianapolis Colts, man. I mean, you mentioned it. Even with Carson Wentz being healthy, I really didn't expect this team to be a team that was going to come out and perform, win the division, push to an AFC title game like they have the roster to do. I mean, let's just call it how it is, and you do see Wentz and Nelson trending towards playing week 1. Nelson I'm cool with, but Wentz, I can't take any positives from him. I can't actually bank on him truly going and leading this team to a Super Bowl, leading them to an AFC title game. And yes, when the trade first happened, it felt like that they were going to have some good moves and some good pieces to come in. But check it out. Wentz is really up in the air. You don't know what the deal is, and I think this is a team that did make it. They're going to miss it. And, I mean, unless you're just assuming Wentz is MVP caliber, this team is going to miss the playoffs this year.
Oh, he's absolutely not going to be MVP caliber. Speaking at my number 3 spot, I've got the New Orleans Saints. 12-4 last year. Now no Breeze, possibly no Michael Thomas. Definitely won't have him for the beginning of the season. No Emmanuel Sanders. So you have no receiver core. Then you've got turnover-prone Jameis or a gadget guy who's more of a running back than a quarterback in Taysom Hill. This is going to be a rebuild year. Like, just like you just heard Adam go on, they're not expecting to make the playoffs. It's not going to happen. They're possibly the third, if not fourth place team in this division. So, I mean, between the Falcons and the Carolina Panthers, they might end up being at the bottom after having multiple successful years and getting right to the cusp of the mountaintop. So, I mean, this is going to be a learning year for the Saints. Like, I mean, they've had bad years. So I know all the diehard Saints fans, they've been through it. But it's that time again.
Yep.
So y'all going to have to band together, make some crawfish boils, get some daiquiris.
And get some paper bags.
Just enjoy your Sundays and invite me over because I will come and drink those daiquiris and have the crawfish boils with you.
You already know, Fees. It's going to be happening at the crib, man. You already know. You already know, brother.
I'm there for that. Just so long as it's not the same time we play.
I know that, man. Can't miss a pass for nothing.
All right, so, man, who you got as your fourth team?
I actually don't have a fourth team. I only have 3 that made but will miss it this year. I think overall, the NFL, you saw a lot of improvements throughout teams, and there are going to be some flip-flops, but I can only really throw those teams in there at the end of the day.
Yeah, like the AFC is such a toss-up.
Right.
Like we know we got the Patriots back in. I think the AFC will flip so much from what it was last season. You know, last year you had to be 11-5 or better to make the playoffs in the AFC.
Yeah.
I think the AFC might see something similar to what the NFC saw last year, where you get a 500 team to make the playoffs. So when we got to call someone, they may not be 500, but at 9-8, I could possibly put the Raiders in the playoffs, but I wouldn't bet not $1 on that.
Right.
It's going to be one team that is like, how the hell did you get in? Because I forgot the Cowboys. I forgot the Bears made the playoffs. I'm like, hold up, 8-8, you got in?
Right. Yeah, they played the Saints.
Like I said, you had an 8-8 team and a 7-9 team made the playoffs.
Yep.
7-9 team won a division, and the 8-8 team made the playoffs.
Yep.
Like that was just bad.
Right. Highly agree with you.
So, I mean, that whole thing will flip up this year. So, man, we've reached that part of the program. We're about to jump to our fantasy football. We've got wide receivers. We got tight ends tonight.
Yes, we do.
We're going to run through our top 5 wide receivers, 2-pick period. We'll give you our top 5 flex wide receiver 2 options and the 5 wide receivers you just don't want.
Absolutely.
So, man, who is the first wide receiver in your top 5 must pick? Who is going to put up the most fantasy numbers this year?
The number 1 dude I'm taking off the board is Tyreek Hill. He's the biggest threat to score on any play in any situation in the NFL. He has the best quarterback in football throwing it to him. And you know that Mahomes could put it anywhere that Tyreek Hill is on the field. But when you dig into Tyreek's numbers, he loves scoring touchdowns, and that is a big advantage in fantasy. 28 touchdowns from 40-plus yards in the last 4 seasons. So you're getting the points on their reception. You're getting the points on their yards after catch, and you're getting the touchdown as well. Coupling that with he is the biggest, big play guy in the NFL today. You can't lose with Tyreek Hill. 58 touchdowns in 74 career games, and Sammy Watkins left, and you got a brand new offensive line. Give me Tyreek Hill all day for the first wide receiver off the board. Okay,
absolutely not mad at that. I'm going to surprise you with this one, and for Gary, he's not going to believe it. Give me Calvin Ridley.
Whoa, okay. I respect it, though. Okay, cha-ching. Yes, sir.
Last year, 90 receptions, 1,374 yards.
Yep.
He was tied for 5th in touchdowns, for 5th in yards, but he had 9 touchdowns. He's going to be the number 1 option all season with Julio gone, so his numbers will move up. The Falcons will more than likely be trailing in a lot of games this season.
Yep.
So they're going to be passing a lot. So he's going to be that option, and he's going to put up numbers. It's very often that you get wide receivers playing on teams that aren't winning that put up outlandish numbers because their quarterbacks are throwing early and often, all game long, and then they start throwing against prevent defenses.
Yep.
Those are guys that put up those numbers. Those are what we often credit Matt Ryan with, is empty stats. That's what it's going to be. Calvin Ridley is going to be the recipient of the empty stats. And the defenses for all the opposing teams are not going to want they're not going to want the rookie Kyle Pitts to get off. So they're going to make sure they don't give him any love. Ridley is going to have a great year. I think he will be your number 1 fantasy wide receiver for the season.
Jamila and Wesley are going crazy about Derrick Henry and the Titans and the Steelers and Super Bowls. Y'all got to calm down in there, man. Go sit in the corner with the dunce cap, Jamila.
Yeah, I mean, the fact
Oh
of the
my
matter is,
goodness.
the Steelers haven't won a Super Bowl since 2008, and the Titans just don't have any. So both of you go sit somewhere.
Yeah.
So who is your number 2 guy?
Number 2, Davante Adams. Now, he does fall to number 2 because of natural regression. 300.9 fantasy points in only 14 games and 18 touchdowns last year is really hard to top. But ironically enough, I won't rule it out for the best route runner in the NFL. One of the biggest guys at the position. We know he can make a lot of catches, and we understand the skill set that Davante brings to the table. We saw what he was last year with Aaron Rodgers. But at the end of the day, another reason he could be your second best wide receiver. Let's not forget that Corey Linsley's gone. David Bakhtiari did tear his ACL, so you don't know when he's going to come back in. Rodgers could be affected by that. Like we've seen in some points in Aaron Rodgers' careers where he's taken over 40 sacks in a season. That could, I'm not saying that's going to be the case, but you can't count that out. I think that's why you got Davante at 2. It's hard for him to top what he did last year.
Yeah, man, I'm not mad at that either, but I'm taking your number 1 guy at number 2 for me. Give me Tyreek Hill.
Huge play guy.
87 receptions, 1,276 yards, 15 touchdowns. That touchdown number is massive.
Yep.
I mean, he's easily a threat at any given week to go over 200-plus yards. In a fantasy league, he can put up quarterback-type numbers any given week. I mean, he did that in a half last year.
Yeah.
I think that was against Tampa Bay. He went over 200 yards in the first half. So, I mean, he's capable of that. Pat Mahomes, I mean, what else do we need to say about that guy? He's going to get him the ball. Tyreek Hill is basically uncoverable. I mean, he's absolutely one of your number 1 options. My only reason I would put Calvin Ridley over him is because there will be plenty more games for the Chiefs than the Falcons where the Chiefs have a sizable lead and they stop throwing the football. Who you got at number 3?
Number 3 is Stephon Diggs, and you can even argue that Stephon Diggs would be the wide receiver 1 coming into this year, especially with him and Josh Allen clicking the way that they did, leading the NFL in receiving yards. And his touchdowns, though, are a reason that you got to put him at the 3 spot, maybe even lower for some people, but I think he's got to be a top 3 pick. And, you know, he's small at 6 feet, so he's not going to get a lot of red zone targets. And when you look at a Tyreek, when you look at potentially a Calvin Ridley, when you look at a Davante Adams, even an Adam Thielen, they give you a lot of touchdowns that are really valuable in this fantasy game. And what's crazy enough is he was drafted as the wide receiver 20 last season on an average, came out as the wide receiver 3, and they did bring in Emmanuel Sanders and Matt Breida, so they are going to have a little bit of touches taken away from Diggs. Nothing too major, though, so he is a safe pick at number 3. You know, your 3rd best wide receiver off the board in your draft.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that Emmanuel Sanders and Breida actually are a bad thing because I also have Stephon Diggs at number 3.
Right.
With 127 receptions, 1,500-plus yards, and 8 touchdowns in a PPR league.
Led the league in catches, right?
Yeah, 127 receptions. I mean, he was catching everything.
Right.
But he led in yards also.
Yep.
He led in both.
And I want to say targets, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he just ate it up last year from Josh
Only
Allen.
thing he didn't lead in was touchdowns, but bringing in another weapon is actually going to take a little attention off of him, so he may actually get more production because, I mean, they throw the ball a lot out there in Buffalo.
Absolutely.
I mean, Josh Allen he's attempting to have an MVP caliber season. The Buffalo Bills have Super Bowl aspirations. They're going to be looking to stick it to teams and run it up, and they might be one of those squads that actually take leads and they keep throwing the ball.
Right.
I think he's going to have another great season just like he did last year. He's going to keep running scores up. He is absolutely a great fantasy pick. If the other 2 guys are off the board, go with Stephon Diggs.
100%.
Who you got at number 4?
DeAndre Hopkins. And with as lethal as D-Hop is, you know, he did only have 6 touchdowns last year, but I think that does increase with Kyler getting a full offseason, building that chemistry, and just being on the same page overall with DeAndre Hopkins. And you're going to have Kyler healthy potentially all year, which is really going to be a major factor. But when you talk about consistency with DeAndre Hopkins, it's absolutely unmatched. 150-plus targets in 6 straight years, 14-plus points per game in 5 of the last 6 years. You can't argue with that. He's a major threat anywhere on the field. He'll make any catch. Best hands in the NFL. I mean, he's DeAndre Hopkins. We know who he is, from the Texans to the Cardinals and whoever else it might be. This is your wide receiver 4 off the board in your draft.
Okay, my wide receiver 4 off the board is Davante Adams. 115 receptions, 1,374 yards. He was actually tied with Calvin Ridley for yards. 18 touchdowns.
Ridiculous.
The touchdown number is just massive. That's killing in any fantasy league.
Yep.
I mean, he's got Aaron Rodgers. He's his favorite target. He runs great routes, has great hands, and he's got a nose for the end zone, obviously getting 18 touchdowns. So, I mean, he's a great pick. I just think these 3 guys ahead of him will get more work than what he will this season. Only reason I've moved him down the board If any of these guys are gone, Davante Adams, absolutely. And you probably get someone else to pick Davante before the other ones anyway.
Right.
Just off of namesake and the fact that he had 18 touchdowns, they'll take him. So, hey, if he's available, pick him up. If not, get one of these other guys.
100%.
Who you got at 5?
Number 5, I'm going to go out on a limb here and say DK Metcalf. You see year 3 is usually a big time when wide receivers really jump off the page, and this is year 3 coming up for DK. He finished as the wide receiver 2 or better in 50% of his games, so he shows you that consistency there. And that's as a sophomore in the best division in football. Walking into year 3, I think DK Metcalf is going to be absolutely huge. And when you look at the fact that he received mid-grade targets and was producing top-tier numbers, 1,000-plus yards, 10 touchdowns, and he could have had more had obviously things went his way, with Russell Wilson. But I think that's all the reason to buy into him at the number 5 spot. And I'm kind of feeling a Mahomes to Tyreek Hill thing. Russell Wilson can put it anywhere on the field that DK Metcalf is. If he would drop less, he would easily be a higher ADP. And don't be shocked if you see 12-plus touchdowns from DK Metcalf this year. Take him at number 5, no question.
Oh, yeah. I mean, folks are going to think we actually collaborated on these things beforehand because I also have DK Metcalf at number 5.
Let's go.
Generally, we don't agree this much. But, I mean, 83 receptions, 1,300 yards, 10 touchdowns. I mean, he had a great sophomore campaign last season. Y'all saw the chase down with the tackles. That just was an example of the speed. The dude is a monster.
Yep.
And I mean, he's a perfect complement to Russell Wilson and his deep ball ability. The accuracy and the ability for Russ to actually extend plays and get him the ball, he's a surefire fantasy wide receiver pickup for your wide receiver 1. So, I mean, Russ is going to be throwing a lot. When he starts to just let Russ cook, their defense isn't the greatest. They did pick up a little bit last year, but they're going to be highly dependent on Russ putting up points, and Russ putting up points means DK's getting the ball.
Yep, 100%. He's going to be a major part of that offense.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I'm pretty sure he looked a lot better last season than he did the season before as far as him and his drops. I mean, that was an issue in college.
Yep.
But he seems like he's gotten better at it progressively each season. He's working. I mean, I didn't even think he ran great routes coming in, but he's made strides each year he's been in. I think he'll continue to make strides, and he's going to be one of the best wide receivers in the NFL next year.
He could easily be wide receiver 1 next year with how lethal he's been so far.
Yeah, I mean, his size alone is just ridiculous.
And his speed, I mean, it's unfair. It's absolutely unfair.
I mean, you saw last year in week 2, he ran a deep ball. Stephon Gilmore was in his back pocket. The ball was perfectly thrown.
Literally.
Gilmore got 2 hands on it, and he ripped it out of his hands and ripped Gilmore to the ground and walked in the end zone.
Yep. Absolutely. DK Metcalf is a monster, man. I love to watch him play.
And that was the defensive player of the year from the season before.
Yep.
He just completely embarrassed him.
Yep.
No one does that to Gilmore.
Exactly.
Yeah, like, dude is a monster. Nothing bad to say about DK. So we'll move on to our flex wide receiver 2 options. Who is your top flex or wide receiver 2?
100% it's Adam Thielen, and this guy is really falling in a lot of drafts I've seen lately. I think he continues to arguably be the best wide receiver 2 overall in fantasy in the NFL today, and he's a top-tier touchdown king. 14 touchdowns last year, 29 scores in his last 41 games, and he's converted 16 of his past 21 red zone catches into touchdowns. So when you give the ball to him in the red zone, he's absolutely performing for you. Now, yes, Justin Jefferson is going to eat at his targets, which literally makes him the perfect number 2 option in your fantasy leagues. I think Adam Thielen could be a steal and potentially a league winner with the touchdown value, especially if you're in a PPR league.
Okay. And for a PPR league especially, Antonio Brown.
Oh, 100%.
He is going to be the guy. Like, he possibly could be a wide receiver 1 option.
Right.
I wouldn't quite jump the gun to go that high, but after you've gotten your wide receiver 1, I think Antonio Brown, he played half of the season last year, wasn't quite back in football shape. He still put up decent numbers in his little short stint there. He's had a full offseason, and now he's going to be the slot guy. He'll be Brady's favorite target because little Scotty Miller, he's no longer going to be a factor. Every ball that Scotty got at the beginning of last year, that's going to be an Antonio Brown thing. And with the Bucs having such a loaded offense, he's going to stay open. He's one of those guys, Brady likes to hit the short route, especially when he sees what the defense is given. Antonio Brown is his guy. He's let him live with him multiple times. He's going to have a breakout year. That's absolutely who you want to get for your wide receiver, too. Who have you got for your second option?
My second option, crazy enough, is going to be Julio Jones, and I can't justify taking him in the first round. He isn't necessarily injury prone, though, like everybody says he is. Now, I am concerned mostly new system, new quarterback. He enters a team who already has a wide receiver one in A.J. Brown, and they heavily rely on the run with Derrick Henry. So I think you're burned if you take him in the first round, and he is hurt again. But if you take him late, potentially, if he falls to you, and he could be an early on pick, which I just think it's crazy if you take Julio Jones in the first round. He's not a first round pick to me because of the injury. Like I said, Henry, another wide receiver one there. And you look at the other mouths again, like I said, there are to feed on that Titans team. It could take away from him, but it slots him perfectly for a wide receiver 2 spot. So I am going to have Julio Jones on here.
Okay. For my second flex or wide receiver 2 spot, I will go with Justin Jefferson.
That's a great pick as well.
88 receptions, 1,400 yards, and 7 touchdowns as a rookie. As you mentioned, he was taking catches away from Adam Thielen.
Yep.
He's only going to get better. Minnesota is going to absolutely be down in a lot of games with Kirk Cousins throwing early and often. So I think his targets and his opportunities will be abundant, and his numbers are going to stay at that crazy level. I would absolutely jump all over Justin Jefferson if he's available after you get your first wide receiver.
Yep. Totally agree with you. And he could even be wide receiver 1 too.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely has the potential to actually get up there.
Right. It actually killed me not to put him in my top 5 best receivers for fantasy. He if he were to have came out and scored 12-13, I'd probably put the dude at like number 3. I mean, look what he would have done as a rookie. But like when you look at a Thielen, Hill, Adams, like the touchdowns really take the cake for those guys.
Yep. It looks like if you look in the chat, you see Kobe's fantasy squad. He has almost all the guys we put up there.
AB is my wide receiver 4. I'm doing something right. Hill, Ridley, Chase, Brown. Okay, yeah, man. Yeah, you're definitely doing stuff right. I've seen a lot of Jalen Waddle lately. I'm only skeptical because I don't know if Tua is going to deliver to him like he is for a highlight guy. I think it's going to be a lot of Gesicki and Devontae Parker underneath. That's why I wasn't into a Jalen Waddle so early on.
I'm not taking any wide receivers from the Dolphins.
Right. Fade all of them. As a matter of fact, DND. Do not draft.
No. Who you got at number 3?
Number 3 for me is going to be Kenny Golladay, and some say the book is out for Kenny G because all the mouths to feed in New York, bad offensive line. What about Daniel Jones? But at the end of the day, you can't act like Kenny Golladay isn't going to be the number 1 target on this team. Sterling Shepard is not that guy. Kadarius Toney is a rookie, and Kyle Rudolph really at the end of the day is a mystery right now. And outside of Saquon, Kenny G I think is the most talented weapon on that offense right now. And at the end of the day, he's looking like a low-end wide receiver 2 in my book, as Daniel Jones does play into his success a lot. You have to take that into account because if he doesn't take the leap, he's going to be a bust for you. But I think if Daniel Jones even just takes a small leap to be decent, you're looking at 1,000 yards and 5 touchdowns out of your wide receiver 2 or maybe even a 3. You can't argue with that. I've got Kenny Golladay on this list.
I mean, that's not a bad pick. I wouldn't go with Kenny, though, just because, I don't know how much faith I have in Daniel Jones.
Right.
I've got A.J. Brown in my number 3 spot because of the fact that I think Julio is actually going to be wide receiver 1 for the Titans. He will draw the best defender from every team they play against and possibly the double team, and that's going to let A.J. Brown eat.
Yep.
You run the play action to Derrick Henry, A.J. Brown is going to be the recipient of most of those passes because they're going to be trying to make sure Julio doesn't get off.
Yep.
I mean, you look across the line, you're like, all right, well, Julio, you're more scared of him than A.J. Brown, even though he is just as massive a wide receiver. He doesn't strike the same fear in you as potentially what Julio could do. So I think this will be a breakout fantasy year. It's going to be a great year for A.J. Brown, period, because of Julio over there.
Yep.
He's now going to be drawing the 2nd and 3rd DB, and he's going to eat.
100%.
No, absolutely, man. So who you got at number 4?
Number 4 is going to be Tyler Lockett. And believe it or not, he's the only other wide receiver besides Davante Adams with 100-plus catches, 1,000-plus yards, and 10-plus touchdowns. But per usual, when you take a look at Tyler Lockett, he always defines himself with crazy inconsistency. Believe it or not, almost 50% of his production last year came in just 2 or 3 games where he had 3 touchdowns each, 150, 200 yards. And at the end of the day, when he is hitting you with that inconsistency, fantasy, that's what slates him towards the bottom of your rounds for a wide receiver too, maybe in a 3 spot, or even a potential streamer. But I don't think Tyler Lockett should be a guy that you really bank on because of the inconsistency. But you never know what Seattle could try to do this year, because they did get figured out towards the end of the season with the offense, and you could be looking at new looks for Tyler Lockett, which is why I think he is worth a pick for your wide receiver 2 in your fantasy draft.
Okay, not mad at that at all. At number 4 spot, I got DJ Moore.
Ooh, okay.
I mean, we're talking about a flex guy, possibly a wide receiver 2, depending on how deep your draft is. You might really be reaching for wide receivers. DJ Moore has 66 catches for almost 1,200 yards and 4 touchdowns last year. He didn't put up a lot of touchdowns, but he did have a lot of yards. And we're looking at last year, he was out there with no Christian McCaffrey. He had Teddy Bridgewater, the first year of Matt Rule and Joe Brady. Now you brought in Sam Darnold. Christian McCaffrey is back. The offense is going to look very different. And I think this team is going to actually throw the football a lot more and more effectively for the fact that they actually have all the weapons. Sam Darnold really has a chip on his shoulder. He's got a lot to prove leaving from the Jets. I mean, they passed on him and then picked up another quarterback. So I think he's going to have a breakout year for him. This will probably be the best year that he's had in the NFL because he's never had weapons like this around him.
Right.
He's got a better coaching staff, better weapons, better line. That fares well for the wide receivers playing on that team. I think DJ Moore is going to be a clutch flex option. Who you got at 5?
Number 5 for me, my friend, is Bobby Trees, Robert Woods with the LA Rams. Now, you are a little unsure about the whole quarterback situation. Is it an upgrade? I don't necessarily think it's an upgrade, maybe better talent overall, but at the end of the day, still can't perform on big stages, still underachievers for the most part outside of maybe a season or 2. Talking about Stafford and Goff, and I still have to see it from Matthew Stafford at the end of the day. And when you look at how Goff and Woods played together, it was a lot of dink and dunk, and Matthew Stafford loves to let it loose, let it get down the field. So you could be looking for maybe a Cooper Kupp or a Van Jefferson that could be looking for deep shots from Matthew Stafford. Now, the reason Robert Woods is at my number 5 on a flex spot is he has finished in the wide receiver 10 to 16 range in fantasy points in each of his last 3 seasons. So he's got that consistent, hey, you can fall back on me, maybe even catch me on the wire, or at least stream me to where I can put up fantasy points for you and steal a game or 2. He continues to outperform his ADP every single year, and I don't think you can deny Bobby Trees as a good wide receiver 2 option for you.
Okay, I'm not mad at Robert Woods. I mean, he's a USC guy.
Oh, yeah, you got love for him then. You definitely got love for him.
But he's not on my list.
Right.
Tyler Lockett at number 5 for me. Just like you said, 100 receptions, 1,000 yards, 10 touchdowns. There's going to be plenty of love to go around because Russell Wilson will easily throw over 4,000. I mean, with an extra game, he might be one of the guys that throw over 5,000 yards this season because we'll probably get a lot more 5,000-yard passers with an extra game. So I don't think it'll be any problem for him to eat. Teams are worried about DK. DK's so fast, you just can't stop him. He's fast and he's big. But Tyler eats because you're putting so much focus on DK. So he's absolutely a very, very clutch flex option. If
Agreed.
He's still available when you're looking around for wide receivers, definitely pick him up.
Yep.
So now we get to the part that'll probably piss a few people off. But
do not draft
if you're
list.
looking to play fantasy and you want to really play it well, this is where you listen. Your 5 receivers to stay away from. Who you got at the top of that list?
Number 1, Hollywood Brown, 28 strength of schedule, extremely run-centric offense, and he has yet to really be that wide receiver 1 that the Ravens brought him in to be. He's small, hands are suspect, and he can't use his size whatsoever because, like I mentioned, he's a small receiver. Only 1 game over 100 yards for him last year with Lamar Jackson, and Baltimore has drafted a notable receiver each of the last 2 years. Rashad Bateman, Devin Duvernay. They're still looking for pass-catching talent. Mark Andrews is always going to be the wide receiver 1 option for Lamar Jackson. So definitely fade Hollywood Brown. I do not touch him in this draft.
Yeah, I agree with that. Didn't think about him. I should have put him on my list. Amari Cooper at number 1. Multiple ankle injuries this offseason.
Right.
CeeDee Lamb, Michael Gallup, and we don't know what's up with Dak's shoulder. I mean, this could be a terrible year for Dallas wide receivers, but in particular, Amari Cooper.
Right.
He's going to be the wide receiver 1. So if he comes out there laboring an ankle injury, this could be a breakout year for CeeDee Lamb. But then if we don't have, if there's no Dak, Amari's not eating. None of them are going to eat.
Right.
It's just going to be a run-heavy year. So who you got at number 2?
Number 2, Brandon Cooks. And, he has numbers, oddly enough, in the class of a DeAndre Hopkins, Mike Evans, Davante Adams in terms of consistency and yards. And he's done it with 4 different quarterbacks. So that's definitely something to speak to. But Deshaun Watson's not going to be playing for the Texans this year. And when you look at the Texans having projected the worst scoring offense in the NFL, couple that with they're probably going to be contending for the number 1 pick next year, you absolutely stay away from Brandon Cooks. No value, no hope, nothing. Do not touch him whatsoever.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. At number 2, I've got Chris Godwin.
Oh, wow, that's another shocker.
AB is going to take away at least half of his targets. With a full season and an off season, he's Brady's guy. Brady has let AB stay at his house multiple times in New England and in Tampa.
Right.
Chris Godwin is going to be the odd man out with an extremely loaded wide receiver core and just a loaded offense, period. He's going to get edged out.
Yep.
Who you got at 3?
Number 3, Odell Beckham Jr., 29th strength of schedule, so that's not in his favor at all. And overall, I'm just going to fade all Browns pass catchers for this year. They're an extremely run-centric team, especially a guy who's only played 39 of his last 67 potential games for his teams. Now, he is one of the twitchiest and best route runners in the NFL. When you couple that with an ACL injury, you can't bank on him coming back elite and being that effective OBJ that he's made a name for. Best O-line in football. They play much better when the ball's not in Baker's hands. There is a Jarvis Landry, a Hooper, and Njoku, and I just think he loses touches and doesn't get them in general, so totally staying away from OBJ, especially off the injury.
Yeah, not mad at that at all. At number 3, I got Brandon Cooks for every reason you gave, but first and foremost, no Watson, no way.
Yep.
No passing happening there.
Yeah.
Bad choice. Who you got at 4?
Number 4 is going to be Will Fuller. 20 games without Watson, 6 targets, 3 receptions, about 40 yards, and a touchdown every 10 games. With Deshaun Watson, 6.5 targets, 4.5 catches, 71 yards, and a touchdown every 2 games. That fully speaks to when he doesn't have Deshaun, he's not going to produce. Can Tua take the step forward? Gesicki's taking touches away. Waddle's taking touches away. He's just not going to get any love out there in Miami, so I'm staying away from Will Fuller as well.
None. Definitely couldn't agree with that more. At number 4, this one's going to piss Jamila off, Juju Smith-Schuster, and he's one of my guys. He's a USC guy. He's just not proven that he has number 1 wide receiver talent. I mean, they got Claypool running right up his neck. He has way better production because all the coverage is actually on Juju.
Yep.
Juju cannot get open with the league's top defenders covering him. Terrible fantasy pick. Stay away from Juju. Who you got at 5?
Number 5, do not draft Michael Thomas whatsoever. Once a number 1 overall pick potentially in fantasy, now he's on multiple do not draft lists all around the league. There isn't speculation around his talent. You wonder about the injuries, suspensions, no touchdowns last year, 40 catches, quarterback battle in New Orleans, no weapons whatsoever. It piles up for Michael Thomas. You mentioned with Alvin Kamara potentially being a bust. I say you stay away from Michael Thomas as well. Do not draft him at all. Not even a waiver, pickup, nothing. Don't touch Michael Thomas this year.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, unless he gets traded to Seattle. Then you don't want to pick him up.
It's just so casual with that.
My number 5 guy is Marquez Valdez-Scantling.
MVS.
He has like 1 or 2 big games a season where it's like, oh my God, then you'll pick him up off the waiver wire and then you put him in and he'll score 2 points for like 4 consecutive weeks and destroy your fantasy league. He will put up a big game here or there. You have no possible way of figuring out when it's going to be. Don't draft Valdez-Scantling. As a matter of fact, don't even pick him up off of waivers. So, man, we got about 10, 12 minutes left. We're going to hit the tight ends. We won't get through all the tight ends, so we'll give you the rest of that list on Wednesday next week. So y'all stay tuned right here. We're going to drop you our top 5 tight ends to pick up in your fantasy draft. You got a little time. I know y'all drafts ain't coming up yet. So who you got at number 1?
Number 1, no question, is Travis Kelce. I mean, he's a no-doubter. He could even go first round in your draft if you're feeling it. Last year led all tight ends with targets, yards, and touchdowns. And the Chiefs have a chip on their shoulder after losing the Super Bowl last year. Most athletic tight end in the NFL. Sammy Watkins left, so there's just that many more targets for them. And if you look at Travis Kelce's numbers, as a wide receiver last year, he would have been tight end 4. Enough said about Travis Kelce. You got to take him number 1 overall as a tight end.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, he was second in yards and receiving, period. Like,
Yep.
not just among tight ends, just in the league. I mean,
Yep.
I got Travis Kelce at number 1 also. 105 receptions, 1,400 yards, 11 touchdowns. I mean, he's the safety net for Mahomes. You see it week in and week out. When he can't find anybody, he's just going to throw it up and let Travis go get it.
Yep.
Surefire, easy number 1 tight end pick. Who you got at number 2?
Number 2 is going to be Darren Waller, one of just 5 tight ends in NFL history with 2 seasons of 90-plus catches. And the Raiders trail a lot. Waller is Carr's fail-safe. There's no question. We've seen him do it. Ate up the Saints last year in week 2 when Waller had over 100 yards. And crazy enough, he did tie Travis Kelce last year in targets and catches, led all tight ends with 27 red zone attempts and 21 catches. Really a Travis Kelce 2.0. I mean, we can't say enough about Waller. You got to take him.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I also have Darren Waller at number 2. He actually had 2 more receptions than Travis Kelce. So for a PPR league, when you're getting tight ends that are getting that many receptions, he had almost 2,000 yards and 9 touchdowns. He's a no-brainer. If Travis Kelce isn't available, that's the next best guy without question. Just as you said, the Raiders will be trailing. Got to go get Waller.
Yep.
Who you got at 3?
Number 3 is George Kittle, 6th overall strength of schedule, so there's clearly advantage there for him, and we know he's an elite player at his position when he's healthy, but he's really just a more injury-prone Travis Kelce, and like I mentioned with the durability, that is going to be a major question as he walks into this season. Also with a quarterback, where is it going to be Jimmy G, who battles with injuries, or is it going to be Trey Lance, who is a rookie that was kind of loose, and we just saw it in preseason? But you look at Kittle's route running ability, 2.8 yards average on a route run. Kelce has never touched that in his career, so he does have an advantage potentially for separation, and he's definitely a safe pick in your league.
Oh, absolutely, man. I also have George Kittle at 3. I think our list might be exactly the same for this one, running down the way. He's coming off the injury. Jimmy's back, and he actually is the catalyst to help Jimmy to stay on the field because he is a very good blocking tight end as well. So when you get him in there, even if Jimmy is out, he's going to be the safety net for the rookie. Trey Lance will drop a lot of passes into Kittle. So I think regardless of what the quarterback situation is for San Francisco, George Kittle is a very safe tight end pick if you're not able to get Kelce or Waller.
Yep.
I mean, who you got at 4? I'm pretty sure I know.
Well, actually, at number 4, it is going to be Mark Andrews. Mark Andrews at number 4, 7th overall strength of schedule, 2,105 yards and 20 touchdowns over his first 3 seasons at a tight end. Now, that is the 9th most in the NFL since the merger. You put this guy in a class with Kittle, Gronk, Jimmy Graham, and Kellen Winslow. Like I mentioned, he's the go-to option for Lamar Jackson, the safety blanket. Lamar loves feeding Mark Andrews underneath, and I mean, he's going to be a great pick in fantasy, so you have to bank on him at the number 4 tight end for you.
And not mad at that. At number 4, I'm taking Robert Tonyan.
Ooh, Bob.
3rd most tight end points last year. I mean, that clearly is because Kittle was out.
Yep.
But he played all 16 games, so he's consistent.
Big
You're
touchdown
have
factor.
A-Rod out there, and everybody is focused on Davante Adams. He's definitely going to eat. He's going to continue to eat. So, I mean, he's a very, very safe pick.
Yep.
Especially since A-Rod is back and he acts like he's happy now.
Right.
Who you got at 5?
Number 5 for me is going to be Bob Tonyan. And you look at how he was supposed to finish last year as the number 18 tight end. He scored 61 more fantasy points than the average tight end and would have been pushing all the way up to the number 3 tight end of the year last year. I mean, we saw it with the touchdown value, the yards. There you go. And Rodgers grew that chemistry with him as well. And when you look at how much he overperformed, that's a 15-spot leap. Nobody in the league even came closer to that 88% catch rate, and he really emerged last year. And I mean, when you look at him, probably going to fall in some drafts because people are going to expect regression. I think he could even potentially give you a little more. Rodgers has found him, so I think you have to bet on Bob Tonyan in fantasy this year.
Oh, absolutely. You'll probably be surprised at my number 5 guy, Logan Thomas. He was a 7th-rated tight end last year. He's sitting up with Fitzmagic now. They don't have an array of weapons out there. Fitz is accurate, especially in that short passing game. He tries to do a little bit too much at times, but I feel like Logan Thomas is going to be an outlet for Fitz, especially early on. He's going to start off very well, and even as the season progresses, it's not going to matter how many interceptions Fitz throws and how many games he screws up. They're going to keep throwing the ball the entire game, and his production is going to uptick from last season because Fitz is going to be throwing the ball a lot.
Yep.
It doesn't matter how bad the team is doing or what the quarterback does. All you want is these receptions, these yards, and these touchdowns. Logan Thomas is going to get them. I think he will be a top 5 tight end this season in fantasy.
That is wild to me, man. Do you want to try to hit the DND tight end list before we get out of here? We got 5 minutes. We roll with it, man. Up to you.
I mean, we can throw. Oh, you say just the ones not to pick?
Yeah, just the 5 do not drafts. We can run down it if you want.
I mean, we can get a couple. We just got a few minutes.
All right, let's do it, man. You go off the top with it first. Number 1 that you wouldn't draft.
Number 1, don't draft tight end, Rob Gronkowski.
Yep.
I mean, Tampa Bay is just completely loaded. They don't actually need Gronk, but he's a safety net for big games, a.k.a. the playoffs.
Yep.
He's a blocking tight end. They'll throw the ball to Cameron Brate, and O.J. Howard will get a lot of snaps. They're going to be winning big a lot, and he's going to take a lot of time off the field. He'll be a horrible fantasy option. He'll have a couple of big games, and you'll have no clue where they're going to come.
Yep.
He's not going to be worth you drafting.
I agree. I got him too, just to add a little bit on, and I'll actually hit the next tight end. He did finish his tight end 8. That was with AB coming in, Howard and Godwin missing time. You're going to have a lot of hungry mouths next year. Let's go to actually number 2 on the list for me. I have Logan Thomas on my do not draft list. I think Fitzpatrick being the king of inconsistency with Washington, and he never really targets tight ends at the end of the day. Logan Thomas is now going to be battling with touches with Terry McLaurin, Curtis Samuel, who they brought in, Antonio Gibson, who looks to be as a dual threat, and then Diami Brown out of the draft as well. And this is going to be a fantasy hungry team overall, which I don't think they're going to get fed due to the quarterback situation. So I do have Logan Thomas falling on my do not draft list this year.
See, number 2 on my tight end do not draft list is Kyle Pitts. The rookie is a huge target on his back.
Yep.
I mean, no team is going to want to let him get off at all. He was the number 4 overall draft pick, highest drafted tight end ever. New head coach, is an unfamiliar offense for both him and the quarterback, along with everyone else in this system. I don't think it's going to be a big year for him. Calvin Ridley is the only one who's going to eat on that offense. I wouldn't take him.
Yep.
Yes, I mean, who you got at 3?
Number 3 will be Zach Ertz. Real quick, though, like you did say about Kyle Pitts, man. So everyone's talking about Kyle Pitts, and here's just something to really put it in perspective. Last 18 seasons, only 2 tight ends, one of them being Evan Ingram, had more than 600 yards in their first year. Some people are saying Pitts as high as the tight end 4. When you look at the tight end 4 from last year, TJ Hawkinson, 723 yards and 6 touchdowns, numbers that only one rookie, again, Evan Ingram, has touched since 1988. Over the last 3 seasons, the tight end 4 has averaged 204 fantasy points. Now we're talking about a 17-game season. No rookie tight end has done that since Mike Ditka in 1961. To draft Kyle Pitts as high as tight end 4, maybe he's a second-round tight end. Maybe he's a late one for you, a streamer, a guy that you can get later on. He won't fall like that because of how high everyone is drafting him. But if for some reason he can and he does pop, then Kyle Pitts is absolutely going to be worth it. But it's really against the odds. Hard numbers tell you that Kyle Pitts really isn't going to catch a wave until 2 or maybe even 3 years down the road.
Yeah, man, I can definitely agree with that.
100%.
Before we get out of here, I'm going to give you my number 3 guy, which will be Hunter Henry. I mean, he's in an offense in New England that they are very dink and duck centric, where they like to check down a lot, but he is actually harboring an injury, and he's got Jonnu Smith, who looks to seem to fit the offense a lot better than what he does. And just to be quite frank with you, picking fantasy players from New England is a terrible idea, and it's always has been every year. You never know which player that they're going to feature each week. They'll kill you.
Yep.
Like the stay away from Hunter Henry. He might have a good year, but not fantasy wise.
Right.
So, man, we almost up out of here. We only got about a minute and a half or so left. Hey, man, we appreciate all y'all every week for tuning in to Petty Sports. Y'all know how to find me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, everywhere. It's Famous Fees. Y'all know what time it is. Hey, man, next week, y'all make sure y'all call in. Make sure y'all like, share, subscribe. Tell your friends to subscribe. Man, until next week, Wednesday, we out.
Petty Sports, man. Appreciate y'all tuning in on a Tuesday night, fully loaded NFL show. Check the link, guys. All social media bios, every bit of content. Subscribe, like Fee said. Really push it up on YouTube for us. You guys been doing great, and we're just pushing towards that goal to make the show even better for you guys. Be sure to call next week, like Fee said. Appreciate the chat room activity. We'll see y'all next week with another loaded NFL edition of Petty Sports. We'll see y'all next time.